At the highest level of play, there can be no compromises. Gamers demand the highest clock speeds to give them the FPS they need to perform. Rise to the moment. Intel Core i7, the official CPU of the ESL National Championships. Game, record, stream without compromise.
Often known as the second best team in the UK, today they take that away from Team Secret.
And that's it! Na'Vi, they know the secret, they take them down. Two-time Premiership champions.
Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to the ESL Premiership, powered by Intel. Of course, the Rainbow Six edition, in case you couldn't quite tell. Otherwise, what the hell were you tuning in for? We're going into Playday number 7, the last one for the regular season before our playoffs kick off next week. And what a night of action we have got planned for you. My name is Desachu, and I am joined by the Lumberjack and by the Surfer Dude himself in XR, Troika, and Fluke. Gents, we've made it. We're pretty much at the end of the season.
We are. It is going to be the last official Playday. Obviously, we've got playoffs next week as well to worry about. But yeah, very exciting. We've got some big games tonight and another chance at a bit of a potential upset.
Yeah, it's the weird thing about today, how everything's kind of come together, is obviously we've got some of these teams locked in, but none of the positionings are really there. Na'Vi could not be the top team in this league, and if anyone had said that in the first maybe 5 weeks, 5 Playdays of this, you would have been like, nah, and now it's all kind of come apart at the very end, and it's like, okay.
And then suddenly M&M existed. Incredible. Well, let's see how those standings can change around tonight by looking at the fixtures for last week, I suppose, more than most importantly to start off with the results. 7-5 on board as Sonny carries against Exillium. 6-6 is a draw between Audacity and Wind and Rain. 7-3 to M&M versus On With The Boys on Clubhouse. And then Na'Vi taking 7-3 over Fierce. You'd probably say pretty expected. And then you look at Playday number 6 and everything just kind of not so much falls apart, but goes a little bit crazy with Na'Vi losing 7-2 to M&M on Cafe. The result of the season, I think, very easy to say. Fierce and On With The Boys going 6-6. 7-2 to Sonny's carries against Audacity on Clubhouse, and then a 6-6 to end things out at the end of that one, which brings us very nicely into this week. But first, let's take a look at some of the highlights from last week as well. Some of the clips that you may have missed if you didn't get a chance to watch it. Gents, what have been your two standout moments, or what have been your standout moments over the last couple of Playdays?
I think we saw 2 heck of a Playdays last week. There was just so much competition within them, and the fixtures, it looked as though the game could quite easily go to one team and then the other team would end up having a massive resurgence and really bringing it back. And there was just some really good displays of gun skill as well throughout the week. It was quite entertaining to watch, really.
It's one of the things that we said at the very beginning as well, and what we're kind of seeing come together in the last play week is that teams are starting to almost find where they have to play this, and they're getting strategies. Just seeing it less come down to let's throw 5 players at 5 players and see where it comes. We're starting to see these teams develop. We're starting to see them, some of them a little bit later than others, let's be fair, but it's becoming more heated as we go, and I think that's what everyone kind of wants.
Yeah, the level of competition certainly increasing, and you can see just by these kills there was, multiple times where there was 2 and 3 Ks coming off. I mean, Nathan on Cafe against against Na'Vi, you can see there he was essentially just shooting guys in the back. They just had so much information, and Na'Vi just starved at that moment in time. But really good gun skill throughout the week, really, from a number of players. Of course, you can see the other Nathan there as well.
It's just Nathan City right now. That's all I'm hearing.
I think that's the showdown today as well. Is it not Nathan versus Nathan? Are we finally settling who's the best?
Fierce versus M&M.
Let's do it. Let's one of them has to leave. Never play Siege again. It's the rules.
It's not quite that
The rules
bad.
have been thrown down. One of you dies.
I mean, they both come back next week.
Oh,
so
okay.
Fluke is selling you a wonderful story here that simply isn't true. It's a fiction story, we'll say that much. But it was a very interesting week, like you say, and it sets us up for a couple of games today that are going to be really exciting. And of course, we'll speak about those in just a couple of minutes as well. However, it's worth reminding you that the finals are indeed in this month. And if you want to get your tickets and come and join us in Manchester on the 23rd of November, and yes, I'm going to plug it, it's also the same day of my birthday, so everyone should be there to wish me happy birthday. Come and join us. Link at the bottom of your screens. Thanks very much, production. Link at the bottom of your screens if you want to grab those tickets to come and join us as well. And of course, we're on social media for tonight. Both the Twitter links at the bottom of your screen. One to follow at ESL UK, the other the hashtag ESL Prem if you want to get involved. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have a website, we have YouTube. Basically, if a social media site exists, we're on there somewhere. Just look at the tags at the bottom of your screen and get yourselves involved. So that kind of sets us up quite nicely to speak a little bit around the poll results for last week and of course what the MVP was, or the top players as it were. MVP comes later. I'll remember this order next time round. You can also get onto the Twitter newly to find out that you can see what the top play was from last week. But shall we take a look at what that one was, gentlemen?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think we should. Well, Keenan comes out number top with 35%. A fair result.
It is
number top.
It's a heck of a result.
Letter top, whatever you want to say.
He's the top.
I think for standout play, it's very well deserved. We can see the play here coming through. It was of course against Navi on Cafe, and he hit a heck of a 4K, playing a lot of vertical angles. Yeah, very well deserved.
Yeah, it's also the thing when you show up against the big team, like it almost goes a little bit further because you're generally having a lot going against you. You have to step up a little bit more because your team might be suffering. So it's like a better gold medal. It's still the gold medal, but it's a shinier version of like the medal. So
yeah, it works out really nicely, and I think against a team like that as well, it's a great time to have such a standout performance and really make yourself seen. Again, these are the kind of teams that all the Pro League teams and teams around the world will be watching and saying, well, they played against Na'Vi, what were Na'Vi doing? This guy looks pretty good. Let's keep an eye out for that one. Now on to my favourite part of the show, of course, it is the Prem VP, and unsurprisingly, your Prem VP for last week was Nathan.
That's going to be a harsh lesson learnt quickly for M&M, that they're going to have to be very, very cautious and aware of that sort of utility. But Nathan moves in and gets a great 2K onto Citizen and saves.
Just getting this back to a 2 versus 2, and now it's very doable once again. Shots again exchanged in either direction. Nathan's on a triple. The diffuser has started to go down. Nathan thirsting for this last kill. He's going to get a 4K on the round.
If they can get themselves another round in the next couple, then I tell you what, it's game on. And who else but Nathan coming in?
Nello trading that back out onto Jonker, but look at Nathan still moving on through, finds one onto save.
Citizen with an early kill, headshot onto Dat, second one onto Packball, but Nathan on the knock will work again. He's just going to push down now towards this cocktail area, see if he can get a view, and he will. Nathan with a kill onto Pi, and that was a beautiful view.
M&M, much slower start into this round as we approach the halfway point. Nathan's going to come to blows there, and he is going to find the headshot onto Kendry. I think he's got some information that somebody could be on the cocktail balcony, and he's going to get the freest kill of his life, as Nello is going to find that kill over onto Jonker, but going to lose a huge portion of health in the process. Less than a minute left now, and Citizen again getting caught looking the wrong way. Nello already got some gridlock mines out onto the red stairs as well, as the drones are starting to flood into Nathan. But what about that for a first pick onto Kendry?
This is heading quickly towards a guaranteed draw, at least for M&M, as that gets Citizen, and that leaves Nello now 1 versus 4, 1 versus 5. It was flawless, in fact. Nathan with the final kill there.
Most of you all know Halloween was last week, but it was Nathan playing Knock Knock on their Fortress last week and literally tearing them apart from the inside out. And you had a few interesting observations yourself. Constantly, members of Na'Vi with their back to Nathan.
I really didn't know what was going on last week with Navi. I think they were just starved for information, and I think the knock pick really threw them off because he was just able to get around so many cameras and, like you said, shoot so many people in the back.
Yeah, it's the thing about it is obviously Na'Vi, let's be fair, have other stuff on their plate, as they are probably watching in Japan, I'm sure. Hello, good luck out there. But it's the thing about it is they were still making these really basic mistakes that even if they were just, let's just ranked and gun this, you shouldn't really be in those positions that often.
And not when it comes down to going 7-2 either. But enough about the past, let's look forward to today, and specifically the schedule that you can expect. We're going to start things off with Audacity versus Exillium, followed by Wind and Rain against Sonny Carries, and then on to the third match, Fierce versus M&M. and that is our match to watch for this week. M&M can take the top spot off Na'Vi, which could be a phenomenal end to this season for them. Of course, in case you missed it, Na'Vi played against On With The Boys last week off stream, as we've just said. They are off currently eating sushi. I imagine they're probably waking up for the day now and tucking into some ramen. God knows. But that game concluded 7-4 on border to Na'Vi, which means there's only 3 games to go through today. And as we said before, some very interesting fixtures. That first one especially can determine who's going to make it into playoffs and who is not.
Yeah, it was difficult to choose a game of the week today, or a match to watch, should we say, purely because of how much is riding on each and every single one of those fixtures. But like you say, just for Na'Vi to be able to be knocked off that top spot with M&M on a bit of a heater, as it were, at the minute, that one certainly was the match to watch.
Yeah. Yep. Group standings there on your screen as well, so you can just see the contextualization we're giving to those results or the games that are coming up. Exillium, Wind and Rain and Audacity Esports. A win for any of them and a loss for the other 2 would propel any of them into that 6th spot and make it into playoffs next week. And as we said as well, at the very top, M&M, Na'Vi, this is where we could potentially see some movement today. The others are all pretty much locked in place. They're not going to move particularly far. So that's where we're looking at the bottom and top, which is an interesting thing to be able to say at this stage in the season. Yeah,
it's the whole kind of breakdown of how those teams in the middle, they've done their kind of groundwork, they've got some stuff. They still have a bit left to do before they make Manchester and before they can kind of actually exert themselves on the stage. They're not quite there yet, but it means that they can kind of focus now on each other. At the same time, the fights that are going on for those bottom points and for that top point spreads across all of the matches today. So obviously Audacity versus Exillium, that's an obvious fight there, but you've got to realize that Wind and Rain need the win and they need that game to go to a draw because of round difference potential. Like, there's so much that comes into this. A lot of maths.
It's almost like you just set me up perfectly there, because our first game, as we said, is Audacity versus Exillium. So taking a look at those 2 teams there, I won't bore you with going through both rosters entirely, but do any names jump out to you guys here based on past performance?
I think personally for me, you're going to be looking for a really big game out of Sloth. He was someone that did struggle last week. I did see him tweet out about it as well, that he was really struggling to hit his shots and wasn't feeling very confident. However, having said that, there were other players on that team that really started to step things up. Rendy in particular did very well for himself. So yeah, I think if Sloth has a good week this week and the rest of the team perform as well, it could be a bit of a tricky night coming through for Audacity.
Yeah, and if you look towards the kind of side of Audacity, obviously these are some of the players that have come from previous promos. They've kind of all come together, but Sepron C and Serda are 2 names that you've occasionally seen do very big things. At the same time, it's a shame that it's kind of come to this point in the season for them, because all of them have had these great moments and they just can't seem to find it together and working it consistently. So now's the week, lads. Please.
Time to step up and make it count, I suppose you could say. And for Exillium, we were at Epic, we watched them play there, and they actually were pretty phenomenal there, but this season really hasn't gone the way I think they'd expect.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're maybe struggling a bit more on the online environment, because obviously Epic was a land-based tournament, so you get that extra chemistry and that extra level of sort of playing together as a team feeling. But yeah, they have seemed to struggle a little bit. I mean, go back to that 7-5 that they suffered on border against Sonny Carries. They were at 5 rounds for a long time, and Sonny Carries really brought that back, and I think they've not really got that ability at the moment to convert onto that win and to get through that match point and actually to take the round, and that was what really sort of did them wrong last week. So hopefully for those guys, they're going to come out swinging.
The draw against Wind and Rain is what really sets the context for this, because again, these are the 3 teams we're seeing in the bottom 3 now fighting over that 6th spot. To draw against someone else in that bottom 3 probably says this game equally is going to be pretty ridiculously close.
Yeah, it's all so level pegging, and it's the weird thing about it, because obviously you look at how top heavy this could be with the 2 teams that are already guaranteed. They've had really, really good seasons, really, really good runs, and at the same time, these teams haven't got their first win yet between them, and it's that kind of sad breakdown now when you're like, well, yeah, you've managed to pull a draw last week. It's all down to today. Literally everything is down to today. If you have a Stormer, you've done it. You don't really have to worry about too much else, so you pull it off. Pull it out of the bag.
Fair enough. Got to ask you as well, predictions. Again, real close games last week, and I hate to do it to you both. Ollie, I know how much you hate me for this. But give me an estimation. What are we thinking is going to be the outcome of this game?
I think I'm on the desk, so there's a good chance it's going to be a draw. I do tend to bring the draws with me, but I know that none of these teams are going to be wanting to draw this evening. I think, personally, if Exillium come out and win the first couple of rounds, they've got the edge ever so slightly for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those teams that you've seen them be able to do well, but they sometimes reach this choking point where they just stop winning rounds and stuff like that. So you would assume that if there was a team to pull out of these 2, they're a team that has done well at Epic Land. They can make it kind of work, but they've just got to try and find it today. And if they don't show up, Audacity might be able to just kind of get their way through.
Well, a bit of a split opinion on the desk, but the only way to find out is to get into this game. It's your first game of Playday number 7, the last one of the regular season. Let's get into the vetoes as well. Gents, are we really going to do predictions
More
today?
predictions.
Are we going to do
Yeah,
this?
let's do it.
Go on then, what are we thinking? Talk to me.
I've got none.
Production, hold that thought for a second.
None of them right, ever.
Give me something, come on.
All right, they're going to ban Border.
No, we don't want that. We want picks.
Picks. What are they going to
All right,
pick?
they're going to play on... what can they... Consular. Give me a Consular.
Okay.
Consular, okay. I'm going to say Coast.
All right, Consular and
Coastline.
Coast. Let's bring them up. Villa and Border gone. Okay, you both still in the race for now. Okay, boys, it continues. We're still going to get these wrong as it goes on forever. Bank is going to be. Thoughts on Bank?
You just don't expect to see Bank
No,
in
you
online
wouldn't.
play. You really just do not expect to see it. We've not seen it a great deal throughout the season. So yeah, bit of a red herring coming in at the end there, and I'm going to have a word with Audacity for banning out Coastline, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird map for these two teams. It's a big tactic map, so could be a long match.
The map favours Exillium, personally.
Yeah, starting on
Also.
defense.
Just because if, they're starting on the defense, they're going to get that roam game out there. If we see Rendy and Sloth really starting to stretch the legs and getting out there on the roam, that is a combination you do not want to come up against. So for me, I think this looks pretty good for Exillium.
Interesting. I mean, Bank's one of those maps where it's all about shooting the C4s out the sky. If you can get away with that, you can have a lot more success on the attack, it feels like, especially when assaulting onto the downstairs. But like you guys said, in the online environment, that's not so easy.
No, and online is where Exillium seem to struggled after having a really, really good showing on LAN. Online has kind of fallen apart for them a little bit this season, so yeah, it's a tough. They're starting on defense. If they drop 2 of these rounds on defense, it will be a shaky second half, I think.
It'll be an interesting one to see. But you can, of course, vote for who you think is going to win this game at ESL UK on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts. We're keen to know. And, of course, in-game, we'll see what that result looks like in terms of which way you think it's going to go. It's going to be a close one. We're going into game, though, ladies and gents. Here we go. Over to Fluke and X.
So we are going to be going into the banning phase now. It does appear as though we may have just lost somebody, although I'm not sure if that was just a bit of a spectator bug there. But Monty coming out as the first ban there. Exillium saying, no thank you. We're going to get rid of Monty. That's an interesting one because Audacity have now got a very big decision on how many which hard breacher, I guess, is the question, that they want to kind of remove for themselves.
Because the thing is, obviously, you're looking at your attack rounds, but that's, the Hibana. Yeah, it's a fair ban. If you've got a good Maverick player, it's a much better ban as well, because it kind of allows you that if their Maverick, your Maverick can take control of the hatches, you assume they haven't got a good Maverick player. The Monty's a bit of a weird ban for me on this map. Obviously, the basement point's great, but where else are you going to really throw that too much?
It's specific. It is very specific, and we don't see Exillium bringing out the Monty all too much. We don't actually see Monty a great deal anymore in Siege as a whole, just because of the nerf to the ADS timer and a few other bits and bobs that are going through. Mirror coming in, that is a very expected ban. But as you say, with the Hibana going, you've got to hope that someone is willing to play that Maverick and play it well, because although it can be done, it isn't the easiest thing in the world to get those hatches open.
No, that's the thing. And Turtle obviously just rage quit there because they banned Mirror, so hopefully we can convince him to come back in. And the last one is going to be Echo. That's that's par for the course. Echo has so much kind of spatial control here. This is, I mean, it's just a weird attacker ban. And the Monty, the others, we see it most times, especially in this kind of region of EU. Like these are the EU bans. Here you go. There you go. Put them on any map.
Very, very standard bans coming through, but the Monty there, a pretty big question.
We've seen Monty a couple of times, especially in week number 2. We saw it used quite extensively on Bank, actually, and teams just couldn't really adapt. So maybe seeing it banned away for Exillium is more the acknowledgement of, we didn't deal with this last time, why are we going to risk playing against it again?
It is a dangerous one, and there's obviously reason there for the ban. I'm sure these teams aren't going there just banning out at random, if you will. But for me, the really interesting one, it opens up everything up for Capitao, because Capitao has seen a heck of a lot of ban so far throughout Siege as a whole and in the Prem. So to open things up for Capitao like that, it's going to make holding downstairs a lot more difficult.
Yeah, Capitao is such a good operator at the minute in the meta. The way his flames have gotten even flamier is a fair sense of a word, and he's just generally been.
They turn the temperature down.
Yeah. They've found a way to make it even more nightmarish to play against, and it's so good at shepherding. And I think this is one of those maps that kind of suffers it, because you'll see them using the basement point as the best example. They'll go above, they'll open the hatches. You don't get direct line of sight, but you can hit a Capitao bolt straight into where the vaults are, straight in between gold to keep whoever, if they've got a pulse there, he has to stay there now, he can't come around and C4. You time that all well, you can get your implementation, get your execute off, and there's nothing that they can really do to stop that.
This is the problem, I think, with the site downstairs, especially, is the coordination it requires between teams is where you can sometimes see it falling apart. And you mentioned the Capitao. Again, a couple of weeks ago when we saw these teams, I think it was Exillium actually playing on Bank. they didn't really have that coordination there. The Capital was brought once or twice. I think maybe once we saw it really used to execute onto site. Outside of that, it died early or was got caught in a gunfight somewhere and never really had a chance to make use of the utility.
Yeah, and that could be one of the big problems is if you're going to bring the utility, you've got to make sure that you're making the most of it and that you're squeezing every last drop out of the operator. It's something that I often talk about. You know, if you get an operator that can bring nades, for example, so we're looking toward maybe a Sledge or a Buck or even Dockerby now, if someone can get kills with those grenades, and Dowie did that last week, he got 2 kills with nades with the Sledge, and I'm thinking it's just wonderful to see because you're squeezing every last drop out of the operator. So if your Capital is going in early, is getting picked off or isn't getting the bolts in the right place at the right time, it can be meaningless.
It's one of the main things that we often kind of, hit the desk about is a lot of people will bring operators, they'll bring these utilities, and you'll kind of go, that's a great lineup, or this is a lineup that can kind of have some malleability, or I'm curious what they're going to do with this. And then they don't do anything with the utility. And you're thinking, well, what is your exit strategy here? Like, you've picked Sophia, you've got the concussions, you've got whatever, and they won't fire them, they won't kind of control them, they'll try and take it as a gun skill. And this was a big problem in the first 2 play days as well that I casted, was just they would not really kind of bring them for the operators. They would try and face check everything, and I'm really hoping that that's something that we've seen change, in, at least at this point, is bringing more drones. And utility was just, it was always a kind of second thought. And for a point where that requires that much coordination like Bank, or a point like the top where you've got big sight lines and big windows, and again, you need kind of body communication to be able to cover all that with the defense information as well. You just need that kind of synergy, otherwise Bank falls apart.
I'm really interested to know how the exact stats. I need Ace here really on the desk to be able to give me this, but what the stats are for the number of attacking rounds won. Because again, back in week 2, the number of rounds being won by attackers on maps like Bank were pretty ridiculous. For maps that you expect like Villa as well to be very defensively favoured, we saw so many rounds going over to attackers on maps like that it does kind of pull into question if you can't execute on these defenses and have the coordination, yet we're still seeing attackers win when they're not using the utility they're bringing. What's going wrong? Is it just the insanity of Prem, or what is it?
Likely the insanity of Prem.
Well, Na'Vi lost to M&M, so I think it tells you more than enough, right? It's gone insane in the final couple of weeks.
Technically, does that mean if Na'Vi go out and win Japan, M&M are the best team in the world? Is that a fact now?
Are we doing this whole passing of the unofficial world titles to people?
So, yeah, if M&M end up top of Prem, and Na'Vi,
I'd say if they beat them after Japan, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they beat them on the land
There's still a lot of work
and that's
to
why
do.
you should buy Manchester tickets and see the new world champions versus the new world champions.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure I'm sold on that logic now.
We'll
drop that
There's
one,
still a long way to go, I think, for M&M. I think they'll be happy, but long way.
There's another shout out right in front of me. Finals, Manchester, 23rd November, birthday, good times. Links there for you to get signed up as well. Do come along. Last time, I think you guys will agree, it was absolutely awesome as well. Packed out arena. Very nice and toasty as well with those lovely jet heaters that we had going.
It was good. I really liked it.
I loved it.
I think the stage looked fantastic as well. I think we really did a good job on the stage. So
Felt very industrial. I loved
yeah, it was good. It's nice, very fitting sort of for the area.
I enjoyed it. I'll say that much. Otherwise, in terms of this game, we spoke about the players earlier on. You were looking to see how they're going to play things out. Now we know we're coming on to Bank. Do your comments earlier on change at all in terms of the players we're looking out for? Like, what are you expecting from each individual member to contribute, do you think?
It's harder to call on these kind of teams, I think, because I think with Audacity, they've had all of their roster changes, haven't they, at this point? I think they've kind of hit their limit on that. Exillium, I'm not too sure about over the thing, if there's been any changes. I'm trying to think back now to what the roster was.
They did get rid of Jimothy.
Okay. So I think they're still trying to develop who's doing what role and where they're trying to find it. So we obviously don't really know who's, IGLing every single round or late game or the changes there. So it's harder to pin strategically what's going to change for these teams because you don't. It's not like, obviously, Na'Vi where it's kind of stated that Nello's going to sit on the point and then everyone else is going to run off in pairs and kill people or, Secret with the similar kind of strategies. And here it's like, let's kind of see who decides to be the gunner today.
You make a nice point actually around Jimothy, which I forgot to mention earlier on, is of course with a new player coming in, things do change around quite a bit. Your strats have to kind of be rehearsed again. You've got to go back through things, run them dry sometimes. The more weeks that go by with this new 5-man stat they've got, of course, only replacing one member isn't the end of the world. They've now had more time to gel together. What impact do you think that can have in today, if nothing else?
I think it's Nord that's come in to replace Jimothy, and I think he did a really good job last week of just sort of, you know, stepping in and stepping into those shoes, because it is quite a big, you know, a big breach to fill, and no pun intended there, but Jimothy was the hard breach.
That was definitely a pun intended.
But no, Jimothy did a lot of good work. He was always droning in the attackers droning in for the attackers, the entry fraggers on attack, and making sure that key walls were open. Obviously, a bit of communication exchange going around there as well. So it is quite a big role to fill. But I think I'd stand by what I said earlier in terms of that Bank really could favour Exillium here, just because 3 staircases, a lot of room for rotation, and like we say, if we do see Sloth pick it up, if we do see Rendy have as good a week as he did last week in the second Playday, they really could do a good job of tearing Audacity apart here, especially with, you know, the slightly quirky attackers that are coming out. I think it's going to need a little bit of aggression on the side of defense to get out there and to get that opening kill.
Yeah, Bank is a map that's it's won by the creativity of the defense. You look at maps like Border, you look at maps like Coastline, which is why we could have maybe seen these guys if they wanted to just meet it as a frag match, which is something that we saw a lot of the earlier weeks and earlier teams. But this is a big tactically driven map. You can be creative on your defenses. You can be aggressive on your roam. You can try and trick things. You can open a couple of, there's some really nice hatch synergy from certain points down to certain floors. You know, there's all that coordination. But then at the same time, the defense has an information game with things like Mozzie as well that's kind of recent. We've seen, even now, we're seeing new Echo drone locations like dug in the window that we saw from Na'Vi, and there's still room for these teams to find new, fresh ways to play this, which can kind of find ways around what the other team are doing, really.
What I find quite interesting about Exillium in particular as well is Rendy is a player that I've had my eyes on since the beginning weeks. He had a fantastic couple of weeks, loves playing Buck, and when he gets on the operator, we've seen him play really, really well from above. But the last couple of weeks, I remember twice on Border, came below to try and blow up a clash from below, got killed by the clash before he could get rid of the clash from below. It was kind of a worrying moment, really. And I think consistency is the big thing that comes through for a lot of these teams, especially the ones lower down the table, is you might have the odd good round or the odd good half, but making that carry across weeks to be able to total up the points, that's where they're struggling and lacking a little bit.
Yeah, and that's really where sort of we see these teams struggling to convert when they get near to that match point, when they get onto, you know, the 5th round and they're struggling to even get themselves onto the match point. Is we just see that slight lack of consistency. And we talk about it all the time. It's what separates good teams from great teams. And as soon as you can sort of dial that down, and whether it's nerves or whether it's just, you know, having multiple ideas of how you want to hold sites and how you want to enter so that you're not being too predictable for your opponent, as soon as you start to get all that sort of stuff together and everything starts to mesh a little bit, I think that's where we see teams progress ever so slightly.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things as well, and why it's kind of boiled down to this very, very late-end team, late-end kind of difference between teams, is the ones that have kind of hit that high mid-table, the ones that are already guaranteed in qualifiers, they're ones that, yeah, we had some expectations for, like Sonny carries, like kind of fierce, but then at the same time, they found that synergy quicker, because we looked at Exillium's roster. They came off the back of a very good performance at LAN. You know, Audacity was a little more of an unknown factor because we kind of knew of a couple of these names, but they're from very different places. But these are the teams that have struggled to find themselves as a kind of together. And Wind and Rain as well. Obviously, they've had, you know, Bashed and Umaz have had these kind of exceptional stand-up performances, but that team synergy hasn't really been found throughout this season. And as we said, and obviously why Bank might be going towards Exillium, is they've at least had some clutches of that. They've had clasps of the chance of being that kind of synergized team that we've seen from these higher mid-tables. So they could pull it out today at Bank.
Speaking about pulling it out, we were about to pull out to a break, but we've just found out that the player that was having technical issues may be with us very shortly. Of course, we should have updated you on that. I apologise. We did have one player who's struggling to get back into the lobby, but apparently that is nearly rectified. Back into the game very shortly. So, fingers crossed, Bank will be our destination going to. Remind me again, I forgot completely which team's starting on defence.
Exillium. So, Exillium, it gives themselves a buffer. You're expected to win your defense on Bank. You're expected to be able to hold them. That's why I said if they kind of let 2 attacking rounds go through, unless they're quite lucky rounds, or it's like the peak of they've had a really, really good round of Audacity and then a rubbish round the next one, you know, then it's kind of looking like it's favoring the Exillium side or Audacity side even, but it's, you know, we'll see. We'll see as we jump into game. Thank you very much for being patient. We're there now. We're there now. And for those who have forgotten the bands, Monty, Hibana, Mira, and Echo are off the board. Good old CEO first, though. That's a bit of a.
It was something I was going to comment on then when we were chatting, and it's that. Do you think that maybe Audacity have got an idea of how they want to play Bank today, purely because they were the last team to ban? So they essentially held all the cards at that point as to whether they wanted to go for Bank or they wanted to go for Coastline, which was the pick that I gave, by the way, in the map bans, just in case. You know, I'm giving myself a point. Des didn't give me a point, but I'm going to give it myself. Do you think that Audacity wanted to play Bank because they've really brought it here?
I mean, it's a high chance, and it's one of the things that you kind of think about is, well, where has your team performed well? Because maybe that's a map that feeds into what your team can do. Like, some maps have styles to them. It's you can't really deny that. So you look at maps like this, you look at maps like Villa, they're big, sprawling maps. They've got, for a lot of the portions, it's kind of big open rooms on Bank and slightly smaller kind of tunnels and locked off bits like Mudroom on Villa, but it's still the top floor has these big spaces thing, and that plays well to some teams' favor. Then you look at maps like Coastline, that's, you know, it's a very kind of quick movement map around the outside. There's a lot of possibility of getting aggressively round and kind of looping behind and underneath the teams. There's not a huge amount of hatch synergy, but you have an entire giant open hatch in the center to get from the second floor to the first floor. If it's something where Audacity have gone, hang on a minute, we're actually able to find the time we want on this map, we're able to find our way across it, and we're able to get comfortably play into that. Play into maps where you seem to do better, because that's maybe just your play style.
And something we didn't pick on earlier either is that because of the way the bans fell, that's made Jackal available for Audacity, and that could be huge in trying to stem this roam game coming out from Exillium, because we are going to expect to see some sort of a roam game going on from these guys as the rounds do progress. It does look as though we're seeing a fairly heavy top floor hold coming out here from Exillium. We've got Secure there on the Jackal. He's going to be outside, just holding that angle on the west windows. Usually we'd see an ACOG player there, maybe, but he's giving a good scan around the bottom of lobby and just seeing if there's any free pickings there. You'll often find a dock just getting a bit aggressive onto the parking garage. Oh, yeah. But I like this window control that's coming out now. And Fabio there working off a bit of information. He knows that somebody is going to be in and around that CEO area. We've already got Claymores there ready for if anyone decides to go for a bit of a jump and jump out at the top of CEO, which is pretty common, as it is something that we do see a good number of times. Sloth could be rewarded here, though. It looks as though he's got information as to where the player is, and he's going to put some shots down. Doesn't manage to do all too much damage, but gets himself back safely into open area. Now that's going to give Secure a bit of something to think about, and look at all this time that's now being wasted. We're almost a minute and a half into the round. We're already at the halfway point, and Secure still out on the rappel, not really having much of an impact for his team.
My one question about this right now is, why is the Jackal the one that is doing that rappel? Like, what is he going to find out there? Yes, he's got a good gun for those angles and a good gun for that kind of firefight, but at the same time, you know, he's a bit of a pointless operator to put on the long range. If you want to use his ability, sure. It could be, I say that, it could be out that maybe they expected it to be basement and expected him to be able to get in a bit quicker and a bit more aggressively, but Dowie is going to quickly open up with the double, the gun, then the grenade to bring himself, well, they're 2 bodies up now, and he's going to continue the roll and try and watch the back as KZX is creeping slowly towards the inside. Sloth's trying to cover the hallway side and make sure he catches Sepron C, who is well aware, but it's whoever has the bravery to wide peek and then the gun skill to follow that up with a kill at this point. And no, Sloth is just going to panic run back, cover janitors, and get a bit closer to point, which, to be fair, makes sense. Now it's a 5-2.
5 versus 2, not looking good for Exillium at all. Audacity yet to drop that man count, as Secure has just got himself at the bottom of lobby, and the pressure's going to be coming in from all sides now. Sloth, he doesn't really know which way to look as the diffuser is going down. He's going to receive shots from the window. He's going to try and get the kill onto the diffuser. I do believe he got it down at least there. In fact, he did get rewarded with the kill. Turtle found one of his own, so the plant was interrupted, but Sloth did lose his life for it. Turtle now last man standing in a 1 versus 3. He's still very doable, but angles are being held. He's going to have to try and push on, breaking this down into 1v1s as the diffuser has successfully gone down. He's found one onto Dowie, but no, crouch peeking from behind CEO desk. Fabio going to pick up yet another kill on the round, and well, that first round going to Audacity in quite convincing fashion.
Yeah, obviously we're not really sure what kind of fell apart for Audacity that early. They had the Valkyrie on the board, and they also still had a C4 in her pocket. Now I know Ace has a particular Valkyrie play that he showed off on Twitter that includes holding the exact push that they kind of suffered from, and you think, okay, this ties back to when we talked about utility. If you're bringing it, how are you using it, and why are you not using it properly? They've doubled down on the information now. They're bringing both Mozzie and Valkyrie, and there's the Jackal being 6th pick off to the Nook. Gonna potentially try and bring some unknown aggression. Again, this is an operator that you kind of hope to be in the building, because, well, if you find yourself watching from range again, then you're not going to have much of a kind of impact.
Yeah, going to be changing that out at the last second there for the IQ, so that's going to counter nicely for Audacity onto any of the cameras that Turtle's going to be throwing out there. I think throughout this sort of lineup for Exillium here, I've got to question the Rook pick, because that would typically be a Maestro played inside of Garage.
Yeah.
And that you just seem to be giving up a bit more information there, because we see those Evil Eye cameras for Maestro just being so influential in the final portion of the round. You can see the vote down there at the bottom of your screens, 64% to Exillium. So one of the closer votes that we've seen, I think that's fair to say. Kind of goes with what we were saying on the desk as well. But so far, Exillium not really showing us that just yet, but we're very early days. We are only in round number 2.
My one kind of question, doubling down on the Rook point, is, okay, if you're bringing Rook, why are you playing for that kind of situational trades? Because obviously the bonus you're getting is you're not, you go down instead of dying, you can get picked up. It's so rare to see a defender under pressure get picked up in and amongst that, but also why not bring the Doc? Like, it's such a better kind of operator. We've already subtly previously mentioned how aggressive Doc can be on this map. There's a lot of windows, and you don't have to run out, but holding the big angles from the top of Banana, holding the kind of firefights backwards through the hatches or from deep through where floors are open. Maestro, again, not being bought on this point is a weird one. You've got the Mozzie, you've got the Valkyrie for info, but that Mozzie play inside Garage with the cover across both sides is just unreal. And there's a reason you see it as often. Rendy, in the meantime, is playing very aggressive, and if this goes unchecked, this could be a huge swing in their favor. But look at the pace underneath in servers. They've wasted no time. They've just careened their way through, not cared about what is going on in staff. Turtle isn't too far away as well, above in archives. Rendy finds Dowie, and now they have to completely find themselves trapped. They have to either aggressively push through, which they are trying, but so far it's a bit of a 3-3. It's fallen back together. There's still the bodies upstairs. They still have some cover. Serdua finds another one, gets himself on the double, one behind the bomb chassis on the far side. Now it's down to the Rook playing where we think the Maestro should have been playing, and it's very quickly kind of fallen apart.
There was kills going in either direction there. I think, Exillium had a good idea of how they wanted to hold that upstairs. Sloth going to make this a 2 versus 1 and then close it out entirely for his team. Sloth seeing little pressure on the top floor with hatches open, ready to rotate back down onto site. You can see a great 2-piece there in that final kill cam from him. He got droned out as well up there, and I'm wondering if Audacity saw the presence that Exillium were giving upstairs, said, look, there's 3 guys off site, we need to push on to this. What they didn't account for was Rendy playing in staff. Yep. That kill that Rendy got onto staff on the last guy that was dropping into server was huge. Opened it right back up. It then allowed him to pressure from the hatch, pressure from the stairs. Boogie. I think Boogie's gunfight was probably the most important, and it came in amongst a load of other kills, but it stopped that push from Audacity coming through all the way. I think he got traded out relatively quickly, but it just did exactly what they needed at that moment in time, because had the man count really just flooded on into sight and then the diffuser started to go down, it would have been a little bit messy to try and retake onto that. But Exillium keeping, holding firm, winning those 1v1 engagements, and managing to clutch out the round. Not, as you would expect, see downstairs held or won, but we do see strange things in the Prem.
Well, that's the thing, and obviously now, just to kind of keep us in this whole upside-down world of how this map is going, we're in open area as the 3rd point, with a lot of other points still on the board. And this is obviously, they're trying to kind of throw the play, they're expecting to go upstairs, but last time they kind of tried to throw the play, it didn't work to their favor. And yes, open area can be held, some teams have strategies for it, sure. But these teams aren't ones where so far the strategy hasn't really been the biggest thing. They haven't really been complete 100% tactical lockouts. It's been very chaotic. It's been a lot of trades. And this is a point that doesn't really play to the defender's favor in terms of trades. Yeah, sure, you pulled a surprise move in the previous round. They didn't expect it. Well done. Audacity, you've got to expect it this time, because if you start to keep falling for those and you're not setting up your pre-placed drones and you're not covering the man that's loose and running around and ready to take you in the back, like, it's just a kind of growing problem, really.
Yeah, and Audacity aren't really doing themselves many favours not taking the Jackal. It's something that we'll probably end up talking about all evening, just because of how important Jackal can be, especially on a site like Open Area or Archives or even Top Floor, just because of all that information that you are then able to gain. Look at Sloth here. He's got Valkyrie cameras for him. He knows he's just going to be able to protect himself there inside of Executive Lounge. Pre-fire shots coming out there through the wall. He isn't going to do any damage, I don't think, and he is seeing some drone pressure now. But again, look at the time that's being wasted and how freely he can move. He can now choose to can move down lobby stairs if he so wishes. There is going to be a defender down at main door, however. Not sure if he's got information on that because he does seem pretty aware. Maybe he's able to hear that player, or if he's just being extra cautious, as it is going to be Satura, and it looks as though Satura is going to choose to progress up lobby stairs, but this is an angle that he doesn't really want to be holding. But no, Sloth, he's looking the wrong way. That's going to be a free kill for Satura there, and now he's able to push on outside of elevators, trying to progress his way in and get closer to that open area. He's in a really dangerous spot now because this is a massive point of rotation that the defenders are going to be looking to use to get from tellers, from main stairs potentially, back down into open area. Seproncy now joining that fight as well, just making things very difficult. What about that for a pre-fire headshot onto Rendy? Rendy there is going to get hit with the good night as KZX finds one onto Norden. Well, this going very similar to round number 1 as we enter a 5 versus 2.
Yeah, it's the whole idea of it, and it's one of the things we called is, yeah, your surprise points aren't working. You're just feeding the man. Where is the information about this? You know he's in there. You know there's people pressuring from the sides. Yes, it's a Nook, sure, but that Nook has already taken a body en route that way. You know, it's all this kind of collapsing down against the points, which in any way is kind of the fault of Exillium here, because where we've complimented them and where we've said they can take this is on the team skill and the team coordination. If they leave it to chance, as they are doing, you know, all you're going to hand is this more potential for Audacity to rely on these defenses, to rely on what are default strategies and default holds, and just kind of feed and breathe into those now. Well, they found themselves 2 attack rounds up at this point, Audacity, and it's good aggression from them. Their clear has been good. They've been on multiple different sides of the bodies that they're finding loose, and then from that point onwards, they've been able to then kind of progress through the rest of the map and through the rest of the team. But, you know, at the same time, it's still a bit loose and still a bit gung-ho, and I think Exillium, if they can pull themselves together, get a bit more information and get a bit more kind of sense into what they're doing on their defenses, they could start to kind of pull some much-needed solidity to what is going on.
Yeah, Exillium are just getting caught a little bit short at the minute, I think, and they're not really in a position to trade kills off each other, which is something that we do talk about quite often, as it is something very important within Siege. You know, if you're going to get yourself into a gunfight and potentially lose that gunfight, you need someone there ready to sort of fill your shoes and fill your spot, as it were. And I think Exillium just catching themselves on the wrong end of that a couple of times and just dying out there pretty solo, which, you know, is something that can't be helped all the time, but if there is a way that you can try and buddy up and play a bit more as a team, for example, that kill from onto Sloth. Yep. It was a great example there of something that really should have been traded out because it was just so free. Sloth was up there on his own and it just got totally untraded, and then the amount of map control that was gained as a result of that was huge. I think Audacity are going to be fairly confident coming in yet again. Although the lineup is, you know, it's still running the same. No Capital, no Jackal. It is something that's working for them, and you can't really, you know, begin to question that if they're picking up the rounds. Yeah,
well, that's the only thing that they've really changed here is they've put IQ on this far side, and again, you know, obviously, you can only really hit your head so many times about kind of wondering why they're doing certain things. Like, why are they bringing the IQ on these windows? Are they potentially looking for this easy pick? Are they just trying to hold it as roam cover? There's some good information there, though, because that's what Jackal couldn't do on those windows. And, that, you know, it's those moments where you go, well, this is them using the operator. This is them bringing one that has a little bit of use from this range, and I like those adaptations. Sloth now has to rotate. He has to push a little bit more aggressive. The drones are coming out from Audacity. They know exactly where they are. But it's getting the man out of janitors, because you always assume there's someone in janitors anyway. They have the barbed wire, they have the half shield to pop over. They've got themselves in a nice position here. If they can try and keep control of this back corridor, if they can keep control of the white stairs side, they might be able to start putting more kind of pressure towards their side. I say as Rendy opens up and takes care of Dowie.
It's a huge kill coming out there for Exillium as we do enter the second part of this round, and that putting Exillium in the man count advantage at that moment in time, with Rendy then able to juice himself back up on the dock, is going to be pretty huge indeed. Boogie now going to look to get aggressive onto this. He's not going to see the player on the other side of the skylight. It's going to be Seproncy that finishes him off, seeing pressure from insider stock trading as well, so maybe a bit too reckless there coming out from Boogie, as those smokes are going to be so valuable in the dying few seconds of the round. Now this side of the map's been opened up a little bit. It's going to allow the attackers to get some much needed drone work done, as they are almost certainly going to be looking to get this diffuser down. but the players of Exillium playing quite deep within the site, more over toward the meeting area. They're going to be holding those long angles and making sure that no one is able to get in for a plant. Fabio going on a bit of an interesting rotate here. There is going to be a player on the main stairs. I'm not sure if, I think he is aware of it at this moment in time. He's going to be slow peeking around the corner, but he's going to lose the gunfight out of ADS. Sloth is going to punish him for it. Meanwhile, the plant will start to go down. Exillium needs to try and push up and stop this from happening. Secure with window control. He's going to be in a really crucial point, just watching that rotation and watching that flank. Sloth, another one onto Sepronsa. KZX finding one in return, but getting traded out instantly by Rendy. All of a sudden, last man standing. It's going to have to be a window jump out if they're going to look to try and clutch this round out, and Secure knows that. He's getting ready for it. The defuse is going to start, but will it stick? It will! The kill comes through there from Sloth. He's really stepping it up this week for his team, as he says, I'll be the one to jump out. I'm going to get that kill and repel. You guys just worry about hitting the diffuser.
For a big period of that, I was a little bit worried about the defense. They got the opening kill. They had it in their favor. Audacity were a little bit on the back foot. And then they just kind of, all of their plant denial, their smoke obviously ran out. They still have this Valkyrie, and she still has a C4 that I haven't seen close to thrown once throughout the game. And you got to realize that all of that floor is destructible. You can even pre-place one. You can have one at more of an arm's length. And they seem to really struggle, Exillium, at stopping Audacity getting to the point and trying to execute it. We even saw it on the lockers and bank. Even when they just rushed, sure, they rushed, but you need to have something to slow the roll. You need to have some kind of last resort. And whether it's your smoke, whether it's your Valkyrie C4s, whether it's just opening up the entire floor so they're concerned about someone underneath and the droning work, and they've got to be a bit slower pace. Just do something, please. It's worrying.
It's not the worst thing in the world to always play for the retake, but it just leaves so much to chance, because those kills that fly as the plant is going down can just go anywhere. They can go in either direction. It's not something you can guarantee. It's not a strategy to really, you know, pin your hopes and dreams on every single round. So yeah, I really believe in what you're saying there, and that they need to just try and stop that plant from going down a little bit more, with a little bit more utility. But Audacity, they're very convinced in that's how they want to play. They're focused on getting the diffuser down, and it's something that's great to see, because so often we just see, you know, these turning into sort of TDM games where the diffuser isn't anywhere near being planted. So Audacity coming out, trying to play their own version of Siege, which is something we often talk about, and it's very important that when you're going into a fixture, you're very focused on how you want to play as a team, and you know, your opponent then, you've always got a good idea of what they're going to do, and you've got an idea of how they want to play, but the main focus has always got to be to play your own version of the game, and that's something I think, you know, Audacity are doing that at the moment. They're really convinced that they want to try and get this plant down, and that's what's happening. But Secure, is he going for the old knock into garage? I saw him sprinting there down the ramp. There are going to be some Valkyrie cameras. I'm wondering if Turtle's got one in the garage area. He does not. Maybe the Maestro camera is in the garage. It's going to be Nord playing that angle. This is what we were asking for last round, where it was a Rook instead. But Secure, he's already in the garage. He's just got himself hugged by the north wall onto the ambulance, and if Nord isn't aware of this, he could see some early pressure, but it looks as though Nord's having a good look around. Secure there, no doubt got some sort of a drone, and there is an Evil Eye in place.
I look at this Exillium defense, and I'm curious about it. Sloth obviously opens up the frag. Now Nord, he doesn't really have to peek this at all. He has no reason to. He knows they're stacking up against him, but use the information. Have someone else on your cam. There's a body inside. You've got so many people spread up. No, that was so... Why? Moments like that, I don't understand. It feels like they're playing a few different strategies at once, and they're not really coordinating what they're doing on the defense. This is all free ground. Now, all they have to do is win this one firefight, and they have almost point control. But no, Boogie is winning it. He's really low health. 3-3. There's the cover around the back, and Sloth has rotated background. They've found the drop downs, but there's still open hatches above point. Dowie has the ability to head too open and cause some problems, has both frag grenades still in pocket as well. Obviously, they've still got some utility. Turtle, let's assume, has the C4. Boogie, let's assume, has at least 2 of those charges. There's possibility for them to stem the roll. There's a minute on the board. Fabia and Dowie can hook up. They can link up. They can get the diffuser out of there. They can try and take control of the staircase, but you've got to try and roll a grenade down. See what happens, Dowie. Don't take this as a gunfight.
I think that Fabia's finding himself in a bit of a tough spot here. Exillium doing the right thing. They don't need to move at this moment in time. They know that the diffuser is down in garage. They maybe know that Fabia is in and around that area as well. And Dowie now going to see some pressure. Who's going to win that gunfight? That's going to be huge. He manages to take out Sloth. Turtle trading it out in return, but Exillium round is going to come through as Boogie manages to find that last one. Well, Exillium, it didn't look like you were going to win that round, but Audacity just got caught very short indeed. Good adaptation from Exillium as well. Sloth rotating down those main stairs, really winning that round out.
Yeah, the thing, it's frustrating because there's so many moments, and obviously, I say this stuff, and we all say this stuff. It's way easier for us to look at this moment and go, we can see him there, we can see him there. Sure, this is how they could play. This is how they should do this. They've got a minute on the clock. It's so much harder when you're in the game. You're blinkered. You know, Sloth having a great game, 8-3 so far. Serdo has been putting bodies up as we said he could, 6-4. But at the same time, you know, when you're at that 30-second mark and you still have 2 frag grenades, you know, don't think about a post plant. Think about how you're going to get down this set of stairs. Because even if you just threw one, rolled it down, and cooked it, you might have pushed it into the firing line of your other teammate. It would have given you the knowledge that someone is in that corner or not, because they would have had to move, or they would have had to take a frag grenade past either side. And just moments like that, little moments, if no one on the team is running that coordination, the same as I was frustrated about the Maestro. If no one on the team is running that coordination, this is why you kind of find yourself at the bottom of the league, really.
Yeah, potentially, and like you say, I think Audacity maybe there just saw an opportunity. They got the opening kill onto Nord, and it looked as though garage control was just there for the taking, which is really, really important. And if that's, if you're going to see that chance, grasp it with both hands and really start to push on through it. The problem was they hadn't accounted for Exillium just adapting and rotating so quickly to sort of fill that leak, if you will. They were like, oh, garage has now been lost. We need to rotate back on that. And they got the right idea because Audacity were the team that said, yeah, we're going to push garage now full force, but they didn't quite have the full force behind it. It was a bit of a half push. It was a good debate though from the knock. Using the ability at that time, it was perfect time, and he wouldn't have been able to be seen on the camera. So it was a bit of a tricky one there for Nord. I think obviously we've got the outlines, they've not. If you're going against the knock, maybe he didn't know it was the knock, because I think if he'd have known, he would have maybe been out of the camera, because know you're not always going to be able to see.
But they have been bringing the knock. That's the thing about it. And that's why I was like, if someone else is watching the camera, he's free to hold that. And when you're playing a strategy where you've only got 2 of you on this basement, they have got to be aware of what's going on the 2 sides that they've got to watch. And he has to be aware with his gun, which is a hell of a gun to have on that point, especially that something's going wrong. Yes, the camera wouldn't have spotted it, sure, but when they came around the corner, he would have with a big LMG. And that's the moments where just have a little bit of synergy between what you and everyone else is doing. In the meantime, Sepron C opens up this round. They've again been having some pretty good moments throughout this game so far, and taking care of Rendy, who has had the same, is quite a big moment. There is maybe the first C4 I think I've heard go off on Bank.
Quite possibly. We can see Saturi's just hanging around at the bottom of those main stairs now, or more specifically inside of the garage, but waiting to get that rotation on up. I think Sloth there has just taken out his drone, but Fabia getting some good success, perhaps vertically as well, onto Turtle. That's going to make the players left in sight a little bit more pressured, as Fabia is upstairs in CEO, looking to find those vertical angles and just root anybody out that's in archives or open areas. We have seen, which is quite common to see, a rotation on in through tellers, which means that there's going to be players inside of archives as well. But what about that for a kill from Sloth, taking the advantage there onto Satura. Satura maybe getting a little bit too predictable there, as that is something that we've seen Audacity doing a number of times now, is taking that main stair control. And, well, the attack has been faltered for the time being as we open this final minute. Sloth still out of position ever so slightly. He doesn't really want to rotate back into open areas. There are hatches open that could be a bit of a problem for him. He knows that there's pressure coming from above as well, as a gunfight will ensue, and it will be Fabia finding his second kill of the round over onto Nord. That makes things a bit more tricky now for the guys left on Exillium, as it does leave them in a 4 versus 2. Sloth left with little option but to try and stack out the site. And, well, Boogie, he's going to swing around and find one through a bullet hole, but is he going to get the shotgun out in time? He is. The ADS has been burnt, but he's going to aggressively push on. He misses his first shot. Can he hit one of these shotgun shots? He's going to try and use his Toxic Babe canister, but no, Kegs has just been allowed free reign into sight. Sloth, where were you looking? Kills traded in either direction as a 2 versus 1. It will now be the diffuser is not in hand. It is going to be down on the floor inside of Staff. Effectively 1 versus 1 as Fabia is down. It's now all on Sepron C, but no, Sloth with the huge clutch coming up for his team, and that's going to be massive, as that was the final round for defense for Exillium.
Yeah, it's a very good job that Jaeger managed to pull that out. Otherwise, I think it'd be a very angry Smoke asking, how did that man get in behind me? Because everything the Smoke was doing there was kind of what we'd wanted that operator or a player of that kind of caliber to do throughout this entire thing. Yes, wide swing with a shotgun. Sure, you almost got lucky. You almost got lucky the second time, which is kind of lucky that you survived, but then you used the smoke to stem the roll. Use the utility. You still had some in pocket. If the Jaeger had been looking towards the correct direction, then maybe you wouldn't have died.
I think we can forgive him because he
yeah,
did win
well,
the round.
that's it.
But it didn't need to be that close.
So he's like, don't worry, I won it. I got the round, we got the point. And they're on a 4-2 split now. But it seems like little moments are starting to wake up for Exillium. Audacity, obviously, losing this game is not an option. We will win. And you've got to play to that level. Like, you've got to play to that caliber because this is what it matters today. Like, that's all. Ignore the rest of the season. Play this as a playoff game. Play this as a relegation game because, in a way, that's what this is.
Without a shadow of a doubt, important games all night tonight. And, well, Exillium, are they taking the best lineup to give themselves the best chance at winning this? We are not seeing the Capitao. We are not seeing the Jackal. And Audacity, they've debated a Clash into the mix.
The thing about a Clash, okay, because obviously some teams really struggle against her and some teams don't. Playing a Clash in the server stairs is a really, really good place to play her if you have someone to cover. If you have someone like Ella with a shotgun, the FO12, or, yes, someone with an SMG is good as well, but, in a weird way, send Smoke up there and keep him a bit protected, which is, I think, what they're doing, which works as well, because the Smoke can then cover the retreat. The pair can pull back. You need to have something to double up with this. You need to get aggressive, and then you also need the Clash to be able to react to if they open server hatch. Because if they get that open, and then they've got a gun covering the rotate, both players are dead, most times.
It is going to be a tough one for Exillium. They've only got 2 grenades to work with to try and root this Clash out of there. No Zafir, no Capitao, as we've already said. Sloth, I think the drone has probably gone in ahead and has realised that there is 2 people playing in on blue stairs. Sloth just holding that angle, trying to gather that bit of information, see if he can get lucky with a bit of a pick, but Audacity not going to be giving them anything to work with, as they shouldn't. More drone work now going through for Exillium, as a flank is possible, especially if a lot of attention gets taken up on this blue stairs. Audacity may decide to stretch the legs. Someone like Dowie getting himself up in and around that main stairs area could cause quite some trouble. As it happens, Sloth is going to choose to rotate off, maybe look at holding those main stairs to try and deter anybody from flanking up.
Well, it seems like they're starting to try and put pressure onto main stairs. You can see the Maestro physically with his gun holding the long angle in garage. That's a great way of doing it. You have the assurance that they're not going to sneak in around the back stairs, and you have the ability to take the head off of anyone at that range. And that's a really nice thing to see, because it allows Fabia and the rest of the team to focus on these 2 more important choke points. The pressure has come on the drop down the far side. Serdua is trying to stem the roll and is zapping the heck out of Nord, and they're going to try and Thatcher and do everything they can to push them back, but this is played really, really well, because all Serdua has to do is just pull back slightly and then reappear and be a big problem again. Sloth has to come round. They're going to drop in and try and go aggressive against Sepron C, who's hopefully paying attention, and if they can pull this off, the Smoke is just going to buy time. We're a minute on and Rendy has killed a teammate. This is what this Clash is doing. Swing round, find a shotgun, doesn't quite get it to land, and they also somehow get the Clash in and amongst that as well, and I think the Smoke was actually the cause of Clash's death there, but they only have 40 seconds left. They have the Maestro on the long angle. Audacity know where all of Exillium are, and some of them are very injured.
Could be a very tough pull through for Exillium. Like you say, they've spent a lot of time trying to root that Clash out. They got there in the end, but losing Sloth as a team kill will not be something that they were planning on. Fabia, full white flashed, still has a Nitro cell in hand, still can affect this round in a good way, but KX there with a headshot on to Boogie. That's going to be huge as it levels the man count out at 3 apiece, and it does stop the diffuser from going down. 14 seconds left now, and Exillium left with little option but to try and make this plan stick. I heard a C4 toss, but it'll be the gun that does the business as Fabia finds Nord. Rendy finds one onto Fabia. It's now all down to Dowie as the last alive in a 1 versus 2. The plant will start to stick. Dowie drops the hatch. There is information knocking around, but no! Turtle's looking the wrong way. It's going to be an easy cleanup for Dowie as he manages to keep himself alive throughout the entirety of the round and swing in as the hero in those final seconds.
A wonderful collapse there, back onto the pint. Got the diffuser carrier and everything. To be fair, Exillium in the dying throws, they did the right move. They pushed aggressively, they tried to find bodies, they realized that it was just being watched and there was nothing that they could really do. They have to take Audacity out. but the timing was gone. They had a body cover, it was dropped, and from that point onwards, without knowing where Fabia was, you know, it's the end of the round at that point. And it's these little moments, and that is why we've always kind of harped on and said, default picks can work. The Maestro, being able to just tap a person into oblivion and having the big angles, all the information they needed, everything was covered. And even though we were hearing a fallback of utility and Exillium were doing very good to push through it, they just didn't have the time to get through what was being laid in front of them by Audacity. And, you know, how they hold this CEO, if they then decide, if they win this and then can rotate down to Tellers instead of taking open, this could become their game.
Yeah, Audacity are going to be feeling pretty good about themselves, picking that first round up onto Lockers, or first round of their defensive phase. But it is a round and it is a site that you're expected to win onto. And Audacity did a good job of picking out the clash, playing the smoke on the stairs. That shouldn't work next time. It should be dealt with a lot quicker than 2 minutes 30. And Exillium need to, you know, take note and mentally log that one and say, right, next time that they've got basement available and we're looking to go down there, let's bring the Capitao, let's bring the Zafir, let's try and affect onto that a little bit more and take it with a little bit more conviction. They took it in the end, and you know, they didn't lose anyone in the process if the team kill didn't come through, so it wasn't the end of the world. It was just how long it took to come through. But moving now on into round number 8, and we are going to see Audacity taking upstairs. They're going to be looking toward CEO and Lockers.
Well, there's a quick spore peek there to drop Boogie down. I don't know if he's down or just on 1 HP, but either way, yep, down, diffuses cold, and Sloth at least finds the trade. If the Thermite had died there, that could have been a disaster for the side of Exillium, because to be fair, if anyone's going to make the trade, it's the Jaeger. Let's assume at this point he's put down all of his ADSs, they're in the places they're going to be in throughout the rest of the round. He's a gun, he's looking for bodies. The trade of a Jaeger to a Thermite, which almost happened, is the best possible trade to make for a lot of teams. He's injured, sure, but you've got to look at what else is on the board here. You've got Elysian to get through, you've got a Smoke to get through, and you've got the Zaps of a Maestro Cam. Having only 25 health for that is a very worrying thing, and that Thermite, which could have potentially been a big gun and a big part of helping to push, is going to be so cautious now, or suffer the consequences.
Yeah, the sole focus now for Boogie has got to just be opening that wall. You can't always choose who you're going to get on a spawn peak, but to take out a hard breacher is always a good bit of good fortune, should I say, for the defenders. Exillium still got the man advantage, despite, and they're going to get another one, in fact, on to Dowie as Turtle starts to make some good use of his gun on the Maverick. Dowie now going to be out of the picture, no C4 either, so that's going to really hurt Audacity, and it just makes Sephiron see that more valuable. What about that for a Natos coming out of North there? Just as we were saying that the Smoke is going to be the most valuable operator left alive, he's going to fall, followed by Satura, and well, Exillium are taking apart Audacity on this attack. It's going to be a very tough job now as a 1v5 ensues. KZX will find one onto Nord. It's going to be impactless as the call out comes through, and from the window, Sloth doing the business. That's going to be a double kill on the round for Sloth. Well, Exillium still firmly in this fixture.
Good to see Exillium. They kind of came together there, aggressive. All the angles were held, all the cover was brilliant, and they seemed to be able to pick apart everything. And using frag grenades. Again, maybe the first frag grenade I think we've seen thrown out in the game, when we've seen it often picked, and we rarely see it actually used this game. And that was a problem that I kind of hopped on earlier. And look at how good it is. My God, it's great. Teller's Office and Archives, they're going to rotate. They're not going to try and take CEO again. And from this point, if, you know, as I said before, if Audacity could take that top point and then move on to Tellers, they're in a good position there to be able to take the game. Exillium kind of needed that point, because if they couldn't take that, there's a good chance they would have struggled with this point, but that was exceptional from Exillium. As I said, everything seemed beat for beat, par for the course, and they were able to kind of very quickly take revenge for the sheer audacity of Audacity to peek at their spawn.
Yeah, it became a non-factor in the end, because I don't think the wall even got opened. It just came down to gunfights, and they were holding rotations. The window pressure that was coming out from Exillium was very good as well. And that's something that's always really important on Bank, is having enough pressure from the windows. There's enough of them, and there's plenty of angles to be found. You've got to be making them work for you. It's going to be a little bit different now, as we are going to see Tellers and Archive for the first time this evening. As Exillium, they often, they opted to prefer the staff side of things. It's a very similar site. You kind of hold both in a similar way. I think the hold for Tellers and Archive, it's usually a little bit more restricted, whereas if you're looking to hold on to onto Staff and an open area, you tend to extend that into Tellers and Archives a little bit more. So it does shrink your sight ever so slightly, but that can work very well indeed, as you have got a bit less to sort of worry about, as it were. Exillium are going to look to want to try and take quick progress onto this and to really build on that momentum. We've said it before, they are a very momentum-based team, and as soon as they start to try and chain some rounds together, I can see them taking this, but we did see them struggle as soon as they hit round 5, or 5 rounds, should I say, last week against Sonny Carries, and Sonny Carries had that sort of a comeback. It was a very similar scoreline, and you know, we could see something similar this evening.
Yeah, they've got to kind of find the aggression they had in the previous round and find a way to make it work. In the same time, Audacity kind of shake that previous round off. You took one with some good strategy. Yes, the gunfights didn't quite go your way, but you got the round, winning the point to the point. That second round, they managed to kill you without most of them even really entering the building. At that point, you've got to think, okay, well, maybe our positioning was pretty bad. Where's our cover? At this point, Nord is free to open up this entire floor. There's nothing that's really stemming the roll here, and this is why I kind of start to think, well, why have they got the Maestro here? Imagine a Pulse. Imagine the ability, if you're going to hand them this free real estate on the top floor, have a response to it. Then you would have 2 C4s and loads of information about exactly what this buck is doing. You still have some idea because he's opening stuff up and moving it, and sure, that gun is a good gun for any kind of fight, but just a Pulse, just a bit of kind of more proactive information to respond. A Nitro Cell goes off and doesn't catch anything, but Boogie does find Serdua. That is the Mozzie off the board. That's another Nitro gone, and that's a really, really big, aggressive potential collapse operator taken off the table as well. A minute 10, you can see them setting themselves up to begin to close down against the point with the bodies pushing and droning around square stairs and trying to find Fabia, and, well, all of this top steadily and slowly collapsing above the defense's heads.
It's going to allow Exillium to operate with a bit more surety now, as well, as they've removed both of the C4 operators. Dowie, of course, tossed his, and Satura was taken out before he could use it. So to have that surety now to be able to open up that floor, sure, there's only 45 seconds left. You'd like that a little bit sooner on, but that floor should be open now like a tin of beans. But no, KZX is going to have something to say about it, putting that Maestro to very good work there. The Alder finding the head onto Turtle, not for the first time this evening. Fabio now with the rotation up onto square stairs. He's going to look to try and pressure on him, but no rotation has been made inside of Janitors, so he's going to have to go all the way around now. Is Nord going to be aware of this? Is he going to be ready, or is he too preoccupied with those vertical angles? Sepron C going to try and drag it back as well as he gets a kill over onto Sloth. It will get traded out, but no, Fabio gets a free kill there over onto Nord. Rendy finds one in return, making it a 2 versus 1. Fabio now rotating down the main stairs. Not a lot of option left at that moment in time, and Rendy is going to be the one to close things out. Exillium yet again starting to chain those rounds together.
Okay, why did he decide to go down the lobby stairs is my big question there. Because there was 10 seconds left. 10 seconds left. He's on the floor above. He has all the vertical positioning. He can do everything up there. He could have stopped the plant. We've seen it be done before. And it was a highlight from the past week, was great vertical play. And yet he decides to aggressively push down against the 2 bodies that are still there. Yeah, the pings are active, sure, but that doesn't matter to you. All you have to do is hold the point from above at that point. You just have to point your gun down through the holes that have already been opened for you. They can't physically get to you. They have to stick the plant. 10 seconds on the board. Even if you let one start planting and you just kill the other one, the game is yours. And that is how you won your first round, Audacity, from collapsing at the right time. 6-3 match point. 6-3 match point.
It's a tough one to see, isn't it? And
yeah,
you know, we often say this when we're casting, is that, you know, we 2020 hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's easy to say, you know, what could have been the play. Fabio there, I think he got caught in almost like the bloodlust moment. You know, he got that big kill onto the book, but the rotation just came out a little bit too late. And even though there's all those angles open and the floor's really open, it can still be very difficult. And, you know, at that moment, it maybe a bit of panic starts to set in, and it's like, we're going to lose the round sort of thing. And especially when that puts Exillium onto a match point, you can see just how much Audacity want this now. Dowie going for that spawn peak again. Why is it always the Vigil we see that hits these spawn peaks, or is at least attempting them? He's going to dip out of that one pretty soon, as he's convinced nobody's spawned over at Jewelry. But yeah, still got a Vigil there. We've not seen all too much Vigil. In fact, we've not seen any Vigil this evening. Is that going to be the difference maker? Are Exillium just gaining too much intel on the drones, and Dowie's going to be the one to try and pull Audacity back into this?
This adaptation I quite like on the server stairs. They've taken out the clash, they've gone, well, they're probably going to guess the surprise, and they shut it down brilliantly. So what do you bring to counter what Exillium did? Because they didn't use utility. They didn't cook grenades, they didn't cook your ADSs as far as we saw. They just charged you. So Serda brought Ella. Hit them with the Ella stuns as they go through the door and then blow them in half with the shotgun. That is a great response to how Exillium have been, because Exillium have led with aggression. Yes, they've used utility, and when they've used it well, but a lot of the times, as we've seen on the previous point takes, is they're just really, really good at getting in positions, getting these gunfights, and just fighting their way through whatever is really being put in front of them. So stuns, slow them down, hit them in the legs. Dowie finds Sloth in the meantime to open up on this round. With the Ash off the table, you know, it's a good start, but at the same time, you've got to think that even if they take this point and they put themselves on the 6-4, they've still got to rotate to at least 2 others.
Still a lot of work to do. If you're going to take out anyone, though, Sloth has been having an exceptional evening. We asked for him to step up in the pre-game, and he has done more than that for his team. Turtle there, he's just going to get a glimmer of Vigil on the drone, as you can see that Vigil was in his cloaking device. KZX going to find one on Terendi, and well, for the first time, Audacity are taking a good man count advantage, as it is a 5 versus 2. Attacking onto the downstairs, that is not what you expect, but the roam game coming out from Audacity is going a little bit unchecked at this moment in time. Exillium falling curse to not changing their operator lineup and being a little bit too set in their ways. And well, Boogie and Nord have got a heck of a job to do in this final minute if they're going to try and clutch this round out. I think both the hatches in open area are going to be open, as that looks like the focus for the rest of these Exillium members, is they're just going to try find angles vertically. They know that there's only a couple of people left on site. There is going to be an ADS there, but no, that gunfight is going to be lost. Semprot C from downstairs finding one with the SMG-11. Dowie, easy rotation to make onto the remaining Exillium member of Boogie, and well, a flawless round coming out for Audacity. They are starting to wake up a little bit.
But now they've got to be awake on 2 points that they've lost in a row. And CEO was the one that they lost very convincingly. It was a tough point to watch. So they have the choice to try and maybe go lockers. They could also put out the old-fashioned open area and see what they can do. But it seems, well, they're deciding as well. They're going to opt for Tellers instead. It was a bit of a better hold-off. The shutdown against them on CEO was excellent from the side of Exillium. They really just responded very well. So Tellers is a bit of a better shout, a bit of a better chance here. The thing is, obviously, you know, it boiled down to a bit of a misplay at the end from the side of Fabio. The retake was great, and you assume Exillium aren't going to fall for it again. However, that's an assumption, and that is down to Exillium to pull this away or pull themselves, unfortunately, closer to a draw.
Dowie has just ruined my next point, because I was going to go on to say how they're bringing three C4s this round, which means that they could maybe be a little bit more aggressive with 1 or maybe even 2 of them early on to try and shut that push down from coming upstairs, because obviously we saw Nord getting upstairs and opening the floor. If they bring 3 C4s, they've just got that bit more option there to be a little bit more reckless with 1, or a little bit more adventurous, should we say. Yep. But Dowie's ruined all that because he's gone on stop. I'm not saying that's the wrong choice. I'm not saying it's the right choice.
No, it's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
What I hope to not see is him spawn peeking with it, because he went for it last round with the Vigil. Is he picking the dock to go out for the spawn peek? I don't think he is. He's dangerously close. I mean, we've got 10 seconds left on the timer. Is he making his way slowly to that main door for that spawn peek? It looks as though that's what his game plan is at this moment in time. It could work. It could work.
Did he see the drone there, though? Because there was a drone right at his feet.
That's a half-hearted attempt now.
Yeah, I think he must have heard it, surely, at that point.
Fabio went for it as well. Fabio ran out of the top of square stairs. So Audacity really looking to get that early advantage and to get in the heads of Exillium. And again, Boogie losing a little bit of health. Fabio will be juiced up in the process. So not really much gained or lost from either side there, aside from a Doc Stim pistol onto Dowie.
Yeah, and it's one of those kind of moments where, you know, yeah, you've been trying it, you got close once, and then you've tried and tried and tried again, and then it's just kind of not really hitting the mark. I like this camera angle because for me, that's them prepping another run out. They can throw the Doc in this firefight from either down here, or they can put him on the top around the kind of banana and just battle across that and just hold that ground in that territory, because we've seen, to be fair, Audacity as a team love to put people on the big windows. We haven't really seen that from Exillium because all their shutdown was on this side. However, if those windows are free and you can just rotate around, well, that's a big moment and a big kill. In the meantime, Sloth takes care of Sepron C. That's the Lesion off the board, and, well, there's a second one as he finds KZX, and they just charge all the way through and back to the point, and that is lobby pretty much completely in their control. Sardua at least balances it back in the favor and finds Rendy, but with the Thatcher off the board, well, they don't really need to do much else. They're trying to line up the C4s underneath. They're trying to find a way to drop the man and the buck that is steadily making this space much more tough to play and tough to breathe in as they start to apply pressure to the point itself as well and burn ADSs. We've seen them use grenades. We've seen them use ash charges. Can they use their way to win this game?
Secure in a dangerous spot here as that wall has now been opened. He's going to be exposed from multiple angles. He's almost certainly going to be full white flashed in a moment. He tries to get the shots down, but it's going to be Boogie that cleans him out. 4-2 now as Fabia's left with no option but to rotate back through Archives as the plant will start to stick. Dowie outside of Elevators as well. He is going to fall as Turtle finds that, and he finds the second as well. Turtle closing it out with a 2K, and well, Exillium there proving the better side on the night.
7-4, and, you know, well, Exillium now have to set themselves up and kind of hope that War don't absolutely smash it to pull back on the round difference, because at this moment in time, they look like they are heading to those playoffs. Good moments from both teams, but it just seemed Exillium with a team that were able, as we said, to make their strategies stick first.
And you can see there, Sloth hitting 15-6. Heck of a scoreline for Sloth coming out of that engagement. And I quite liked his ash skin as well that he had on the final screen there. Very white, very opposite Ember Rise, I think.
Anything that's against Ember Rise, you are fully for it.
I'm fully for it.
And very much so in favour of Exillium, like you say. I think a bit of desperation coming out of Audacity in those final few rounds. The Vigil surprise worked once. The double run out they tried to go for Exillium were just like, hey, they're trying some crazy stuff. They know the backs are against the wall here. Let's just play it slow, play it patient. And while we saw the results that came off the back of that, they're really good performance by Exillium though, and seeing more of what we saw with them at LAN.
Exillium did really well there, and they came out in stark contrast to last week, and they really put the numbers up. And like you say, not getting caught out on those runouts and stuff, not letting Audacity really get into the heads at all. We asked for a big game from Sloth, and he gave it to us. So I don't think you can ask for much more from Exillium there. They really came and showed us what they were made of.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it was in the very early rounds that they weren't coordinated on their defenses. Things weren't really coming together, and as I kind of said, you know, why are they not running this as a team? Why are they not bringing all the parts together? They're kind of playing a little bit loose and a little bit too wide from each other. And then those attacks really came together. They were closing down as a team. They were covering every single angle that they needed to. They had the shutdown on everything Audacity were doing. And when they were winning their trades, they were able to just kind of push their way through.
Yeah, I think oddly, Audacity looked, you know, quite good on the attack. More than anything else, and you know, it really gave Exillium something to worry about, especially in the first and third round. But I think after Exillium sort of got into the swing of things a little bit more, they were able there to get the trades out. They were able to really single out those defenders, and their information game and the information exchange on the side of Exillium must have been pretty frantic this evening. And I'd like to have a bit of a listen into those comms because there was some really good teamwork going out there, and like I say, a lot of information exchange on the drone, especially on those attacking rounds.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things as well that we kind of talked about at the very beginning was the information is probably going to be what brings us round, and we saw a lot of information up support from the side of Exillium on their kind of, and the way they kind of played it together. We saw active droning, we saw their ability to kind of close down against what Audacity were doing, and yes, Audacity read that a little bit, brought the Nook, and were able to find some kills out of it, sure, but kind of swung just a little bit in Exillium's favor today.
The knock was the really interesting one downstairs, and you guys called it yourself on cast as well. Why, as a maestro, you wouldn't be sitting there with that Alder aiming down Garage, instead choosing to sit back and hold the camera is a bit beyond me if you know there might be a knock there. If they didn't know, fair enough, but it definitely caught them off guard. One thing I noticed as well actually was for Rendy. Again, normally a Buck player, he's been replaced by Nord.
Nord did a good job. Nord was really good on the book, you know, opening that top floor, opening up in CEO. I know that Des particularly loved the sort of way that I described that, opening it like a tin of beans, but that's what he was doing. He was going in there and he was really getting the floor open, and that's what you want to see. So, you know, for that little bit of a change, could that be what we see? We've talked about it earlier on, that Rendy, as good a book player as he is, we've seen some inconsistencies, seen some struggle. If Nord's then going to pick that up, and it might leave him open to, you know, change things around a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a look then at who you guys thought. Well, not have a look at who you thought, but we want to know who you think is the player of the match is the right words to go for there. Out of Sloth, Rendy, or Fabia, we want to know at ESL UK on Twitter. That's where you want to be. Guys, out of those three, I think I already know your answer because you were fanboying him from the very start. But who are your guys' players of the matches there?
I think think I gotta go with you. I think it's Sloth.
It's got to be.
He had a really, really good game on the Ash. Was able
Not at all trying to influence the vote.
No.
You're giving an impartial opinion.
Only vote for your best friend. But Sloth, yeah, he just had a really, really good game. He was getting bodies. He was finding kind of trades back. He was the one who obviously saved Thermite's life when Thermite was down behind a car. He got the frag from the opposite side, and you know, having that kind of aggression and that ingenuitiveness, that's not a word.
It's definitely not.
No. But having that kind of ingenuity to be able to pull themselves together, I think, was a really big strength there.
Absolutely. Well, we have an interview ready with Rendy. It's almost like going to be a fanboy moment for me, seeing one of my favourite players in the Prem. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Not too bad. How are you guys?
We're all good, thanks, mate. Got to ask as well, because the last time we saw you guys on Bank was back in week 2. You lost 2-7. It didn't go so well. Today, though, things look a lot more refreshed. What was the mindset coming in today for the team?
We were pretty sure we could win this. Like we're like, our team is, I think, stronger than theirs just on paper. So although Bank's not an amazing map for us, we were pretty happy to go into it. We wanted to win as many defenses as we could, because attack for us is not that great on Bank. But yeah, it went pretty as we expected, I think. Yeah.
Fair enough. In those last few rounds, Audacity looked a little bit erratic at times, bringing out the Vigil, for example, then turning around and trying to play the other way around with double runouts, for example. You guys wouldn't have seen that, but they did try to get 2 runouts onto you guys with cameras everywhere to try and catch you off guard. When you realised they were getting a little bit crazy, did you kind of settle down as a team and say, right, let's just take this slow, no need to rush, we've got this? What was the thought going into that final round that eventually gave you guys the victory?
We kind of realised at one point that they're just playing like kind of monkey style. So if we just hold angles, and we literally just held angles on flanks for quite a bit and just caught them on flanks quite often, we kind of realised that they're going to try and basically use their gun skill of like Karma and Dowie to try and just overpower us, but we just kind of held flanks. Wasn't really an issue.
Playing like monkeys, that's one I think I remember, even going into playoffs as well, potentially. Now, I've got to mention as well, Nord, of course, has joined the team, played excellently, has unseated you from playing Buck. You're now onto Thatcher duty. How have you found him fitting into the team so far? Been good for you guys?
Yeah, well, one thing we had a problem with was I'm quite a passive player, and Buck's not really a passive operator, so we wanted a more aggressive player to play it. So he has the aggression. There's a bit of communication problems because he is Russian. His English isn't the best, but it's pretty good. But he's doing his Buck job well, and he's aggressive, so it's all good at the moment.
It's a good balance in the team. Well, thank you very much for speaking to me, mate. Really appreciate that, and hopefully be speaking to you in the playoffs next week. Yeah,
thanks for the interview. See you.
Well, like they say, Audacity playing like a bunch of monkeys. That's one way to get yourself down in the pecking order in the UK scene, guys, but there you go. What do you think of his comments there that he made?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. You know, he seemed quite level-headed about winning it. Obviously identified, as did we, that, you know, Audacity maybe weren't playing as good a Siege as they could have been, and just, you know, playing for those really aggressive angles and those runouts and stuff, and it just didn't work out for them on the night. But good at identifying it and not getting dragged in to that kind of play style, because it can all quickly fall apart from there on out.
Yeah, also the idea of, obviously, when they said they're still working on the communication, and that is what makes or breaks a great team, is getting that down. Whoever gets their way through that first is, you know, going to find themselves better. And you look at a team like Team Secret who've had these roles, and, you know, Feral will say, well, I just do what, you know, we don't think about it. If someone says do this, you do it. You don't question each other what we're doing and all of that stuff, and that's what makes us so good as a team, is this complete faith in our comms and our communication. So, hey, they keep practicing, who knows?
Of course. Now, I'm sorry if you guys are waiting for a result. I've been told I've got to do this by production. But of course, a huge congratulations to Secret, who won their series 2-0 against Force. That's a fantastic picture.
That's a great
That was him at Last Land, I think, actually, as well. When he was there, in absolute exasperation when things weren't going so well. Congratulations to those guys. Leon, on Twitter, he was saying he was going to do it, and now he's gone and done it, so big, huge congratulations to him. Secret, of course, will be playing in our promo series, so if you know what that is, get yourself involved. You can sign up and get yourself partaking in that if you want to be here with these wonderful gentlemen casting you potentially next season as well. Head over to esl.im/PS Cup 2, and you can get yourself involved. There are 4 cups. We're going into number 2. Plenty of chances to make it in here, gents. It feels like could be a very exciting time, no doubt. But speaking of exciting times, I think it's about time for us to jump into a break before we get into our second series of the day. Don't go anywhere. Back with you in just a few minutes.
At the highest level of play, there can be no compromises. Gamers demand the highest clock speeds to give them the FPS they need to perform. Rise to the moment. Intel Core i7, the official CPU of the ESL National Championships. Game, record, stream without compromise.
Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Welcome back to the ESL Premiership powered by Intel. We are going into game number 2 for the evening, and this one is where it gets really spicy, because if Wind and Rain win this game by at least 5 rounds, a tall order against Sonny Carries, they will be the ones going through to LAN. And Exillium, despite their victory before the break, will unfortunately not be going to LAN. So a lot to play for, but you know that you'll be watching that round count on the side of Sonny Carries if you're an Exillium player, biting on those teeth, I think, in paranoia about what the outcome could be.
Yeah, I think Exillium is certainly going to be tuned into this game, as this is where it all sort of lives and dies for those guys. And while Wind and Rain, they're going to have their sights firmly set, and if you're a Sonny Carries player or fan, you're going to be looking for an upset, and you're going to be looking to really keep them off it.
Yeah, it's the thing about, obviously, it's a hard order to pull in this, is the 7-2 wins. We've seen a lot of draws, and we've seen a lot of that throughout the history, and you especially. I've seen a lot of draws, but
I love that little sly reference. You especially.
7-2. 7-2 is a big ask against a team like Sonny Carries, who they've had off days, sure, but they've also had massive comebacks and massive kind of plays. For them to just kind of hit 3 rounds is all that they can, like, they don't really care about this too much in terms of whatever, but they're still going to play. And 3 rounds in the eyes of Wind and Rain is like, oh, this is tough, because we've got to not just win, we've got to crush them.
Sonny Carries get to play God here, essentially, and just stand above and go, oh, look at the peasants fighting for 6th place. We're already in playoffs. What's the problem? But we've mentioned the 2 teams' names a number of times. You may as well find out who is playing on either of those rosters. Now, a few players on here that I think jump out at us. And Moz, one of the big players from last week that we mentioned. We've seen Tyrant have a couple of great games. Harris the same. And, of course, Blur is back in, like you guys said. He could have a profound impact today and give them that victory over Wind and Rain that will surely make sure Exillium are the ones going through to playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about these kind of, lineups is, as we said before, players like Omoj and Bash, they've had really, really great days. They've been able to pull stuff together, and IV as well has been able to have these kind of moments, and you just think you've got to get it working as a synergy, because, yeah, it's all well and good to try and have these clutch moments and have these players that have outstanding days, but if that doesn't work as a team, it doesn't come together, as we've seen. So today is the day.
Yeah, and it's that side of teamwork is going to be really important as well, because obviously IV, it was his first week last week in this season of the Premiership. He is a familiar name to a lot of people, and he has been in the Prem before. But Bash is going to be in this week, or back in, should I say. And of course, Mini not going to be in the roster. Mini had quite a big impact last week, so I don't know, are Wind and Rain going to find themselves lacking in the kill department? We will have to see as we move through.
It's the one thing you really can't be lacking on today as well, is kills, because I think, as we saw in the last game, many of those rounds did come down not to plants, but down to executes at the very end of it and actually getting rid of the whole of the opposition team. So, who is going to be that big fragger, do you think, today for either side?
On the side of Wind and Rain, I'm going to have to look at Bashed, I think. Obviously, back in the lineup in the first play days, and it was absolutely outstanding what he was able to kind of do. And there were so many rounds where everything else was kind of going against the team, and then he would still keep putting up numbers and putting up numbers, even in amongst the tide going against him. And for me, now that he's back, it's the time to kind of prove it and the time to kind of pull it all out.
Yeah, without a doubt, I think Bash could have a big impact. Obviously, having a week off, he's going to look to come in and really sort of stamp down his authority on this game. Olmoz as well for me. He was a big player last week, and there was a bit of a tipping point really for Wind and Rain last week. They were really struggling to chain rounds together. Olmoz, I believe, is the IGL, and just sort of stepped up, sort of said enough is enough, and came out with like a 3 or a 4K, and it really turned the tide for them. So yeah, really be looking toward those 2 guys to step it up today.
I like that little plug for your YouTube channel there, passively.
Got it.
Beautiful stuff. Well, let's get into pick and ban. It's time to find out what map we're going to in this second series of the day. Gents, I'll give you one chance to redeem yourself. What do we think we're going to? Stake your claims now.
Clubhouse. No.
Can't.
Good try. Nice try, mate.
You're wrong.
No, Consulate. I'm gonna double down on my Consulate.
All right.
Double for nothing.
Ollie?
I love a good double down. I'm sticking with Coastline.
All right, we're going for it again. So Consulate's gone already. It's out the way. Bank and Coastline again, the same position. What again? Oh, it's all the kind of outlier maps today. Bank and Villa have been the 2 that we've seen come through. So Villa going to be the one we're going to. Big defensively favoured map. And look who starts on defence. They are going to make this so hard for Wind and Rain. They've really got to sweat it out on this attack here if they want to get to land.
That's like the only reaction I have right now.
I don't see it either, I won't lie.
Why Villa? Why are you attacking Villa? I mean, I guess you didn't have the choice of whether you attacked or not, but you had the choice of Coastline or Villa.
And you chose Villa.
Because they're going to choose defense. You know they're going to choose defense first. They have to not get more than 2 rounds. And you've maybe handed it to them, maybe.
Maybe they just don't feel particularly comfortable on Coastline, but I'm totally with you. It's one of those maps that is a bit more volatile in terms of attacker or defender round wins. If you were going to exceed your limits anywhere, it was going to be on Coastline, I feel. And Villa, again, like you've just said, starting their own defense with Sonny carries.
For a long time, Coastline was the most balanced map. It might still be between attacker defender. That was your chance. That was the big chance to be able to guarantee some round wins on either side. I wish you the best.
Well, you guys can let us know after you've seen that exactly who you think is going to win this game. At ESL UK on Twitter, get involved in the vote. But we are going into game. It's a big one for Wind and Rain. If they can do it, they're going to playoffs. If not, Sonny Carries will deny them and give the spot to Exillium. Gents, over to you.
Thank you very much, Des. Let's get down and stuck in some Villa then. Not a map that we get to see all too often, as it does largely come down to this section. This section is arguably the most important on Villa and how these bans are going to play out. Hibana going to be getting removed straight away from Sonny Carries. They, of course, start on the defense, not wanting that full force of hard breach destruction available for the side of Wind and Rain. Wind and Rain will reply with a Capital ban of their own, and I'm expecting to see the usual bans coming through here in Mirror and maybe even the Echo. Or Sonny Carries could try and throw a little bit of a spanner into the works and mix things up ever so slightly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Capital was an operator we talked about being banned previously. It allows so much spatial control, it allows you to shepherd people, and it allows you to take control of corners that are otherwise played quite aggressively, especially in this region. A lot of kind of shotgun round, you get the wide swings, and to have a little bit more solidity is a big thing. This obviously leaves a couple of big roam control operators on the board. Obviously, you've still got your Jackal, you've still got your Nomad, you've got your Gridlock. You've got a lot there to close down what is an exceptional kind of map for roamers and aggressive players, and that is what Sonny Carries can often bring in high regard. Obviously, they have some huge names, huge players, you know, and they're opting for Dining Room Kitchen first. I'm going to assume as like a bit of a shake point, because usually and consistently it's the top two, floor 1 and then 2. Bring in the Pulse, going to try and C4 from underneath, keep some kind of aerial control here, but you know, I love Villa. Villa's a fantastic map to watch. It can really kind of bring really nice games, and I think on the range of things, Wind and Rain starting on attack and then changing to defense on any other week, I would be like, hey, this could be a good map. This could be good for them. But it's the fact that Sonny Carries, if they get 3 rounds, the dream is over for Wind and Rain.
There is just so much on the line, like you say, and I think we're yet to encounter a week or a fixture where the team that gets to decide actually chooses attack. Now, obviously, it is Siege. It is inherently defend-decided. Those things are balanced out in terms of operators, etc. But yeah, defense is just is so strong, and for Sonny Carries to be able to come in. Don't forget, they've got 2 wins over Wind and Rain as well, so they're a good side. They're going to be experienced in trying to keep Wind and Rain out here, and I'm sure that we're going to see the full force of that this evening as we jump on in. But we're going to be looking toward Dining Room and Kitchen, so it's not a site that you would expect to see straight off the rip. That could further play into the mind games, I guess, that Sonny Carries really want to start playing with here against Wind and Rain. Interestingly enough, no hard breacher brought at all on the side of Wind and Rain. They in fact opted to put an Arctic on the Dokkaebi as opposed to the Thermite. So that's going to provide them a bit more information for the roam clear. Couple that up with Jackal, and you've got a nice recipe there to get some roam clearing done. But what about that from Quadzy? Taking out Ivy in the very early stages of the round. Ivy just getting caught out there on a single melee hole on the wrong side of the wall. Now that is going to allow those Valkyrie cameras to operate at full capacity now, as they are unlikely to be found. Kayak holding a nice angle there, which is going to get wide peeked onto as well. So Sonny Carries not giving all too much up in this opening stage. Going to get another one on to Grizzly. Finally, Quadzy will be felled from his power position, but that's in fact going to be a 1-for-1 trade, so something that at this point Wind and Rain could really not afford to happen as they enter a 4 versus 2. And just look at all the utility left on the side of Sonny Carries. 2 C4s, 3 Toxic Babe canisters, and 2 Stim pistols. It's going to be a heck of a mountain to climb for Wind and Rain.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those unfortunate situations as well as, yes, they maybe didn't expect this to be the first picked point, but if they lose this, and then Sonny Carries then have the option to, they can head upstairs to ABG, they can head to Trophy, they have other possibilities that they can kind of bring as point control, and this is arguably, and for a lot of people, seen as the weakest of your 3 points. No one really heads to the library point. It's rare a scene, especially on the kind of UK teams and the Irish teams. A lot of it falls down more to the kind of French teams, but you know, here it is, you're kind of already losing pressure. You're in a 4 versus 1. It's just your Maverick, and they know exactly where he is. There's the worry of the holes above. They have a pulse there as well. They're keeping the angle kind of aggressive. You can't rotate out at this point. You will just get shot. The diffuser's down. You try a 360, but Sonny carries. They've put themselves 1 round away from stopping your dream of playoffs.
Now shortens that gap ever so slightly. Nice bit of hip fire there coming out on the Deagle from Tyrant to just close it out. I think Almost was pretty low health at that moment in time. But for Wind and Rain, I think this is where, that first round is just where the mental games start, and that sort of mental war of, right, we're going to choose Dining. We're going to go for a bit of an offsite. That's going to then allow us AVG and Trophy Statuary for later on in the game, which, of course, it looks as though Sonny Garys are going to opt to choose AVG now. And I think Wind and Rain just didn't seem in that at all. They were nowhere close. No kills were getting traded. They were going in and finding themselves caught out 1 at a time, which just shouldn't be happening when you bring a Dokkaebi and a Jackal.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of breakdown of it. And you can see they're looking to try and get a bit more control of the roam there. They've obviously bought the Lion to kind of lock stuff down, and you know, and it was very aggressive from Sonny Carries. They were more than happy to throw themselves at doors, throw themselves really directly at whatever Wind and Rain were bringing. And yeah, they're going to try and double down on it, but, you know, it's still, this is the team you're up against. You're against Sonny Carries. Big fraggers, big names, big movements on a map that plays into that play style. And they've also, at the same time, yeah, okay, I say they've got nothing to lose. There's seeding and there's those kind of worries to come to, especially if the idea of seeing Eminem not at the top and being in a worse position depending on where you are is a bit of a nightmare. But, you know, it's still... they're happy to be aggressive. They're in no real pressure that you feel, and you know it's a tight sense of gameplay that's going to make this work.
Yeah, I think the Lion's going to have a really big factor on how this round plays out for Wind and Rain. If they're able to work together as a team and really clear out anyone that's on the roam, I'm really looking toward Blur there. If he does continue to play in that offsite location, in and around Trophy and Statuary, you can see he's still doing a little bit of setup there, as we've got Ivy on the roof just looking for any of the cameras that he may be able to find, or any of the electronics, should I say. But I think if the Lion can work in conjunction with maybe the Jackal, for example, and a good bit of drone work going out as well, Wind and Rain could see some early advantage here. Bashed is going to be trying to get some footprints there, but nobody has walked in or around that top of Study so far. And the push really coming through from the south side, although it looks as though focus is now going to shift. So that's fine, but look at the time, already 50 seconds in, and you usually expect some sort of control at this point, whether that's just of the balcony or of Study, for, you know, you're getting your drones working in there. But it seems as though Olmos is going to be left on his own in that Study area as the first E1D comes out there, and I do not believe it is going to find anyone. That's now going to alert everyone on Sonny Carries, and they've got a decision to make. They need to know now, right, am I going to stay in this extended position, or am I going to try and pull things back? At this point, there's no pressure to retreat, and Sonny Carries can continue to do what they are doing.
I do like what they're kind of bringing here with the Thatchers. Omos is drawing as much attention as he can to make them think that they're still going to destruct their way through. And it's going to be down to Sonny Carries, the information that the Jaeger can provide, and maybe any Valkyrie cams that might still be up, to add a response. The second E1D goes off, and you can still see them roam clearing by face checking underneath. In the meantime, Tyrant just takes out the Thatcher, and then Kayak finds the Thermite. The pairing of hard destruction's gone, and now you've just got to try and get through into a very, very tight, tough point without any hard destruction and just gun skill. And, you know, you're still up against utilities. You've got Lesion just burying himself in his goo mines at this point. Bash does find a pair, though, with a beautiful swing round as Blur and Harris sacrifice themselves. But on the other side, IV goes down, and so does Grizzly, and so does Bash.
Big plays there coming out for Bash, but it was a bit too little too late. You could see just how impactless that Lion scan was throughout the course of the round. And well, Sonny Carries just in too much of a good position to rotate back onto Bash as soon as the call came through. Sonny Carries looking very, very strong so far on defense, and Wind and Rain not really anywhere near at this moment in time. We've not seen anything opened, albeit we've only seen a hard breacher brought for one round, but we've not seen it used. We've not seen any sort of map control. It just seems to be, you know, run at them and see if we can get some picks and get that opening. Because if we're not getting that, then, you know, Wind and Rain really aren't getting all too much out of Sonny Carries at this moment.
And now, looking at it from the side of any Wind and Rain fans that might be out there, if your team wants to make it to the playoffs, wants to not be in the relegation zone, they have to flawless from this point on. 7-0, drop no rounds, and find their way all the way through. And, well, It's tough, I think. It's tough for any team. Roses are red, violets are blue. Bashed is back. No points for you. A beautiful poem.
It is a beautiful poem.
Yeah.
It doesn't look too true at this moment in time.
No, I mean, the thing, okay, they might still pull points, but it's the round difference that's the make or break. It was a difference of 5. They had to pull back, and here he is already. This is what we said about Bashed. Even when games are going against them, still finds kills, still finds bodies, and to kind of be able to do that, it's like when, you know, obviously G2 this season had one of the worst seasons that they've kind of had, but in the meantime, at this point, what we've seen is Pengu was the best player, statistically. Pengu was the #1 player out of the season of Pro League because he kept finding bodies. He kept being able to put people down. And, you know, it's just one of those things is if there's a player in your lineup that can keep doing that, yeah, the team might not quite make it, but it's a great advertisement for yourself as a player in a selfish kind of way.
It is, and you know, you can only hope to do as well as you can do on the day, and if you perform your best, there's nothing more that you can look toward. It comes down then to team elements, like you say. Bashed going out there, getting the kills, that's all very well and good, but he needs the rest of his team to be working alongside with him, because as we saw in round number 2 there, those kills essentially were impactless because they got traded out straight away, and there was no real control then that was built on from that point. Blur seeing some aggression early on. Speaking of the devil, it is going to be Bash that's looking to push on into him, but Quadzy continuing in his fine form is going to take the head off Ivy. Bit of a duel going on between those two now, as I do believe they've come across each other a number of times in these early engagements. Almost will find that refrag over onto Quadzy, and Blur now going to safely retreat his way back onto site under the cover of Kayak, as Kayak grabs one onto Grizzly. Blur saying, I don't want to go back to site just as of yet. I'm going to play in on red stairs, and I'm going to try and force out this clear. He's going to find that kill onto Bash, which is massive. Bash really should have been in a position to try and take that one. Almost left under the effect of the Yokai drone, just pre-firing onto corners. And Arctic now, he's gone and found himself outside of 90 corridor. He's just going to get buzzed by the electrified shield on his way, but I do believe that Blur is on the flank as well, as he is underneath. It looks as though now he's going toward Astro stairs. Ooh, what about that? What has happened there? Kayak through the smoke over onto Olmos, and Anarchic now left all alone out in the cold inside of the vault. He doesn't know where the pressure is going to be coming from. Pre-fire shots come out, he finds one, but the double peek from Sonny carries to guarantee the kill. Blur is going to grab that one. Blur really stretching his legs throughout that round. It looked like he just wanted to be in where the kills were at every moment. You could see him wanting to go on those flanks, wanting to go on the rotations, and it really paid off for him.
Well, I guess we'll see how this goes, but unfortunately for the line of war, you know, they're in the situation now where they're playing for points. They're playing for points, and points unfortunately might not mean prizes this time round. So we'll see how this kind of works out for the rest of them. I'm kind of hoping that now this is just going to be a fun game of Villa, because the pressure's, in a weird way, it's a little bit off. They might be able to feel a little bit more confident and comfortable and just play like for the win more than anything, rather than the big stomp win. And as we said, when they get onto the defense, they do have a lot of the kind of chunk of the map in their favor, as we've kind of seen. But Sonny carries, they're free. They're consistent, they're aggressive. As you said, they're stretching their legs, they're running around the map and putting as many bodies in the dirt as they can. You know, and it's just, I think this is going to see how we go. Yeah, we want to finish the season as strong as we can and keep this momentum going into playoffs. 3 points needed.
Sonny carries there. Not quite as poetic, I don't think.
No, where's the rhyme scheme?
Not quite
really
as poetic, but maybe they're going to let their gun skill and their gameplay do the talking. And it's doing the talking so far, as they do sit at 3-0 against Wind and Rain. Easy for me to say. Wind and Rain now, they can't lose. They can't lose a round.
Yeah.
They've got to go flawless here. And Sonny carries, the way that they've kind of teed this up with the bomb sites that they've been choosing, they're back down on Dining, which is a site that they've won already. And are they over in? They're over in Kitchen. My apologies. They're over in Kitchen this time, and they're going to be looking pretty good. I don't expect to see any sort of, you know, trouble from here on out. They've still got Aviator Games Room to hit. They've still got Trophy Statuary to hit. They've got another 3 rounds. Well, after including this one, should I say? They've got another 3 rounds on defense. So far, Wind and Rain, they haven't shown themselves anywhere near.
I'm just trying to think now if we've seen any Wind and Rain players on point, and I think that's a no. And I don't think we've ever really seen them on a point adjacent to the point. I don't think we've actually ever...
They've not got close, no.
Yeah, the closest was a bit of pressure on the landing door when we went to AVG from Bash, and it was a double kill. Oh no, he did run into point then, but then he got dropped as soon as he entered. It counts, technically. And that's the thing about it is, you know, as we said, Sonny carries are being so aggressive, as we see. The eternal battle between the Pulse and the IQ happening as they just continually detect each other. But there is, for the first time, the opening frag in the favor of War. Obviously, Bashed picking it up against Quadzy, who has otherwise got the opening frag twice throughout this game. So for now, Bashed is flipping the tables and making him the opening death.
A good first kill to get, and what about that for a little bit of misfortune there? Tyrant managing to clear up the pieces, but Grizzly will take out Harris first. Harris, of course, playing the Pulse with the shotgun. Not an angle that you want to be challenging onto, especially when you've got a teammate in front of you, because even if you do manage to get that shot off, there is a big risk there of some team damage. Wind and Rain now find themselves in the driver's seat, but Kayak, I don't think that anybody knows where Kayak is at the moment. He's upstairs in Trophy as the Doc, moving through now into Astronomy. We've got Ivy playing the book on the stairs, and well, that is just an unfortunate timing situation there for both the players. Blur going to find one onto Bash, just trying to stop him from going crazy on in the site and getting all the frags that he desires. Kayak's almost certainly going to come head-to-head here as the peak comes through, but no, the pre-fire shots come out, and Ivy just playing a little bit too tentatively. Tyrant finds one as well before getting traded out by Anarchic. Anarchic now last man standing, but I do believe he does have site control, or at least he is the only person on site, as we are going to see Kayak now looking to rotate back down. Kayak's got a nice melee hole there to peek on through, and Blur playing very passively from upstairs as the smoke, which isn't usually the expected thing, as essentially Sonny Carries are now leaving this into a 1 versus 1 times 2, because Anarchic is almost certainly going to come to head with Kayak here as the pre-fire shots come through the wall, maybe working off some information, but it is not going to deal the finishing blow. Kayak still playing very passively indeed. Anarchic does have the diffuser in this situation, but it's unlikely that he's going to get the opportunity to plant it. He is trying to cover the sound of the plant there as he does start to make things stick. Kayak is able to see him, and he will be able to find the angle through the floor. An easy round there for Sonny Carries. Look how patient they were on that defense.
Yeah, and this is in a weird way. It's from what we kind of saw in Bank, where we were like, why are you throwing away vertical? Why are you being aggressive? Here we're seeing how it can work perfectly for teams. Sonny Carries open with aggression. They open with fire and ferocity, and they're able to start picking apart a kind of attack before it even begins to formulate. But in the situation where they don't need to be, they're not. They stay back, they stay above, they hold it from range, and they're able to lock it down in that kind of post-plant control, or kind of, well, we've still got the point, we're above, you can't rotate to kill us, you've got to try and find a place we can't see you, oh, we can see you, oh, you are dead. And that was one of the big things that we kind of, well, especially I shouted about in the first game, was just missing those kind of moments and overextending. And Sonny Carries, yeah, they're playing aggressive. Yeah, they're storming around the map. Yeah, they're stretching their legs. But then they're so comfortable to just go, okay, now I can just hold this. Like,
it's calculated.
Yeah,
it's very calculated.
It's really nice.
And to have that sort of ability to stop in the heat of the moment when you're in a 2 versus 1 and say, we're not going to pressure for the trade, because 2 headshots is quite easy to achieve within Siege. You know, you get a bit of luck on your side, or you get something that doesn't quite go in your direction. As those 2 defenders, you're leaving yourself a little bit open there. It's an unknown outcome, although it should go to the defenders. It doesn't always. So it's just have the peace of mind of, even as the smoke player, to just be like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to play this hatch. And if push
it's mine now.
Yeah, if push comes to shove, I'll drop the hatch and I'll challenge onto it. But I'm going to let Anarchic sweat this one out a little bit and really force him to get this plant down. And as we saw, it all came through the vertical angle, which is something that you cannot underestimate at all. Had that vertical angle not been there and the plant had gone down in a slightly different location, it could have been a bit different. Yeah. But I'm sure that Sonny Carries had a plan for that as well. They are going to be going into Aviator Games Room. So far, yet to lose a round on the defense, which is a little bit surprising. We do talk about Villa being fairly defender-sided, but Wind and Rain just don't seem to have brought their A-game this afternoon, or this evening, should I say, as they have really been struggling to get anywhere close. Early engagement there for Grills versus Kayak. Kayak is going to be the one to lose his life. So once again, Sonny Carries losing that opening kill. It didn't do them any damage in the previous round, but what will happen here, we'll have to see. Harris has also seen a good portion of damage, and another kill comes through as well. Bashed on the Ash this time. He's got 2 drones working ahead of him, and Blur is going to have to quickly rotate back down onto site, because effectively there are only 2 players left on inside, and Harris, well, he's not got a great deal of hit points remaining. Blur going to find 1 onto Grizzly and just try and level that man count ever so slightly. Still a little bit of way to go, as we do sit at 3-4. Quadzy now getting a bit aggressive onto the south stairs. He can see the gun barrel peeking out, and he is going to miss his shots. He does hit 1, but I don't believe he who gets the finishing blow as Bashed is going to be left on very low health indeed. Blur now has found his way into Aviator and is going to look to aggress onto Study. Again, he can see the gun barrel peeking out and the shots come through. Blur is not going to miss, but he will get traded out straight away by Bashed as he actually picks up a 2K, and now it is all down to Harris. There's a heck of a lot of time left. This one has to be the first round for Wind and Rain.
Yeah, it looks like they're in good stead. They would have to do an unbelievable throw, or Harris would have to do a pretty unbelievable clutch, but not happening. War put their first round on the board, and I really like to see it. They were moving as a team. They had all their angles covered. They were being a bit aggressive into Sonny carries. We obviously, you know, with the first body being felled in the hands of Kayak, from that point onwards, they moved against the top of the red stairs. They tried to find the bodies, and if we compare that to the last time they're on attacking that point, they droned it out at the very beginning, left one man, and then completely shifted everything to the other side, which allowed so much time for Sonny carries to just double down, reverse the cover, and then start dropping bodies. And this time they went, no, we're going to push through this, we're going to take it aggressively, and it worked in their favor. Heading now to Trophy Statuary for the final defense point from Sonny carries. Looking in a 4-1, and yeah, that round slipped. You assume that they should be able to wake up from this, but it's War that are going to, again, for me, have to still step up.
I mean, have they stepped up a little bit too late? We talked about it in the pre-game that really for Wind and Rain to get the result they want today, they can't let Sonny Carry get more than 3 rounds.
Yep.
They've taken up until now, up until round 5, to actually get their first one on the board. So, you know, it's a real difficult time for Wind and Rain to start turning it on. And you know, if they come out now and get the clean sweep, I think they're going to be pretty gutted.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing about it, is at this point now they're kind of, it's a mix of playing for pride. It said they wanted to get the win today. Yeah, they might not have got the round difference that they wanted or needed to find themselves in the playoffs, but ending the season on a bit of a high could be something that is going to be beneficial to them. Because Sonny carries, as we said, they're a good team of good players, and these were one of the kind of top-tier teams that we expected, of like a mix of players who have some prestige, have some history, and can actually make waves in this season. Haven't quite had the season that I think we expected them to be. The kind of season that we're seeing Eminem having, we also expected Sonny carries to be having a little bit, but they sit on the even balance of 2-2-2. And you know, if Wind and Rain can pull a game from them, I think it would do them a lot of kind of world of favors before we head into, obviously, the next season. Because even if they've got to obviously play back through and find their way back into the league, it's, you know, it's groundwork, it's learning, it's communication, it's finding your balance and finding yourself as a team.
Tyrant there is going to be setting up for his impact tricks. Look how much ammunition he's used there. He's only actually got 3 clips remaining, which sounds like a lot, but if you want to be, you know, aggressively pre-firing onto stuff, or even opening a barricade, or, you know, just getting yourself a bit of an angle, it does go very quickly indeed. Quadsy is going to be playing on 90. He's got a deployable shield down near the games door, sorry, and he's going to be looking just to hang around there for the time being, as the wall is already electrified. Tyrant ready and waiting to get those impact tricks off. Kayak looking to open some vertical angles as we've got Harris inside of Astronomy. I think he knows the push is going to come through Bathroom at some point. I'm not sure where his yokai drones are located and if he's going to be able to figure out just how many of the Wind and Rain guys are going to be flooding on through that bathroom, as it is a much slower approach. The wall will start to be open, but it will be impact tricked off. I do believe that's the first exothermic charge that we have seen, and still 1 impact grenade in hand for Tyrant. Seeing some pressure now from the grenades, but holding his position. He didn't take a great deal of damage there. The ADS has probably been burnt at this point. You can see there's a yokai drone on the ceiling as well. That'll call if anyone aggressively pushes on through that door. And still a bit of a stalemate coming out here for Wind and Rain, as they are struggling to make anything happen. You saw that grenade just go a little bit too far, and the exothermic charge now will almost certainly be destroyed, and now there is no way of opening that wall, and it's just going to funnel Wind and Rain through the doorways in this final minute of the round. Grizzly will find one, however, but traded out instantly by Quadsy. C4 toss comes through, but it won't be successful, as unfortunately for Quadsy, he's going to die before he gets a chance to try and detonate that one. Kayak putting that SMG-11 to good work yet again is going to take the head off of Omoz, and we end in an equal 2-2 as kills trade in either direction. Importantly for Wind and Rain, though, Bashed is still alive, and we've seen what happens when this guy starts to step things up in the kills department. Tyrant now just holding the angle onto Astronomy, as he knows that that's where the last 2 players of Wind and Rain are going to be coming from. You can see the live pings there on the screen are going to be giving him all the information that he needs. Now, it looks as though one has maybe looked to go through bathroom, but I think Kayak is going to be holding that from the small connector. But no, that's a huge gunfight there, and Bashed will win it out, taking out Tyrant. Now all down to Kayak. He is going to have a Toxic Babe canister in hand. I don't think it was placed early enough to deter the plant from going down, though, as Bashed will stick it, but he's going to lose his life in the process. Now comes down to a 1 versus 1. Diffuser planted. Kayak, you've got to try and retake onto this. He's got a live ping. He knows where the push is going to be coming from. He draws for the shotgun. Is he going to be able to close it out? It's a long-range engagement, but no, he catches IV on the reload, and he's got loads of time there for the defuse. Just going to test the C key as well and make sure that one still works after such an intense engagement. But Sonny carries there, winning the 1v1, and well, that's going to be 5-1 on the first half.
I mean, yeah, it was really, really nice patience from Kayak, especially to be able to hit the smoke grenade. Didn't quite get the timing the way he wanted it to, but again, we could see the information. We could see the pings coming out. He had kind of everything working in his advantage. And unfortunately for Wind and Rain, even though they got in and got the diffuser down, which was well played, they didn't quite have the coverage to be able to then pull it off. And, you know, that's the thing that we kind of said about them when they were holding from above before. They have that patience on their defense on carries. They're happy to pull back. They're happy to wait and play it a little bit passively. However, let's see how that translates on to their attack. Wind and Rain now have the balance of the map in their favor. Starting in Trophy Staturian, going to try and use this and hold it as well as... well, they just suffered the effects of. I will say it was a good attempt on their attack, to be fair. Seeing as they lost the thermite charges, both of them, and then just tried to brute force their way through, they got surprisingly close. However, unfortunately, close doesn't put rounds on the table. Setting themselves up now with a double electronics disrupt. They've got Kaid, they've got Bandit. They're also going to throw Jaegers in, keep some control. I'm curious to see if they go as aggressive on the roam as we've seen Sonny carries, or they're just going to try and play it a little bit more defensive.
Sonny carriers were everywhere that you didn't want them to be on the roam. They were just a real nightmare, and you could see Wind and Rain were trying everything to sort of fix that. They were bringing the Jackal, they were bringing the Lion, and they weren't able to get anything done with it. You know, they had the information as to where these players were, but I guess the defenders on Sonny carriers just so slippery in trying to actually nail them down to any one location. I'd like to see Sonny carriers come out with a bit of a different take here and maybe look to just go through AVG side and just really sort of give up that wall and just have that pressure coming from elsewhere, because if they're able to pick up a couple of kills, it's going to be really difficult to then actually keep hold of that wall if the lines do start to get established. I think the worst thing for Sonny carriers to do at this moment in time is to sort of 4 or 5 man stack into master bedroom. They need that vertical pressure, because you can do a lot to unseat someone that's looking to impact trick if you get control downstairs.
Well, it seems like they're going pretty far and wide with this defense. Grizzly is already picking a fight below, and they've only left 2 players on the actual point itself. So if Sonny carries do a good and kind of strategic roam clear here with the drones moving ahead, they could very easily take these as 1v1 fights or 2v1 fights, set the trades, and it leaves them in a better position for when they actually push the point itself. In the meantime, it will be just down to the 2 bodies to try and hold onto point, a Moz and an Arc Kick. With all the utility that they have, it seems like Bashed and IV are going to double up on the roam, which is a well-played strategy. We've seen teams like BDS do it, and finds the Gnome at a close quarters kill there, and it puts a little bit of the swing back in their balance. If they can retake underneath, they can cause big problems, as you said, for the defenders on point themselves. They're still trying to get through the main wall, still trying to find their way through triple against the actual point itself, and there comes the impact trick from the Kaid. He's just going to double down as Legion creeps up underneath, has 3 goos and has an idea of where someone is, but unfortunately can't quite make it land as he gets it.
Did he shoot that with his pistol?
He shot it with his pistol. Unbelievable scenes there from the man in the kitchen.
IV there really stepping up for his team, pulling out the pistol and managing to get rid of the second exothermic charge. So Sonny carrier is going to suffer the same fate as Wind and Rain in that they've got no hard breach destruction left. Bashed doing what Bashed does best, getting out there and getting in and amongst the kills. Blur's going to be pushing on through now. He's got astronomy control. Now he's going to look to try and use it, but no, we're going to see the Cade just holding the angle as a Narkic is able to remove Blur, and that's going to put the man count firmly in the favor of Wind and Rain. Kayak now left on astronomy stairs. He doesn't want to peek out onto this all too much, because I think he knows that there's information on the side of Wind and Rain as to where these players are, and well, he's going to get himself caught in a crossfire very quickly. Pre-fire shots need to come out, and Narkic's going to have 2 kills from that angle. He's barely moved his feet since killing the first guy, and he's going to find another headshot. Quadsy now downstairs, out in the cold. He's going to have a heck of a lot of work to do. We see him do good work on defense. Can he translate that through onto his attacks? It's a tall order to clutch a 1v5 with only 25 seconds left. left, especially seeing that the diffuser is down on the ground unplanted. He's now been spotted by a cam, and I think he could do worse than just try to save his life here. Discuss with his team how they're going to move forward, because it's almost certain that they're going to be attacking onto AVG next. They've got a heck of a lot of rounds in the bag. You can see there, he's just going to hop into his drone. Maybe try and bait Bashed into a bit of a kill there, but Bashed is having none of it. All players saving KD. And well, Quadzy, I think he's made the right choice there. That's just a free 25 seconds for him and his team, just to take a little bit of a breath and just to establish how they're going to convert onto a match point and then further in onto a series point. From Wind and Rain's point of view, though, what a good defense.
Oh, yeah. The tactical timeout obviously gives them a chance, but yeah, it's a really, really well-played defense. They had themselves set up and ready to kind of take it as they wanted to. Everything was covered, and, you know, again, it's this kind of point where some of the stuff they were doing on attack was good, but this map makes it hard for that stuff to come together. You could be a great attacking team against an average defending team, and the average defending team will sometimes win the rounds out just because of how Villa likes to play into that. Not saying Sonny Carry's defense were average, they were very good, but that's just how this map is. It's nice to kind of see the swap side for Wind and Rain, and it's why I love to see these battles on Villa, because although a 5-1 is a big split for a lot of maps on the half, Villa sometimes it isn't. Because the way points out with the points play out with Villa is you sometimes are guaranteed like 4 if you have a basic strategy for 2 of them. It looks like they're heading to an off point. They're baiting out AVG. They're going to head to the 3rd point, which, I mean, it could be their 2nd point, but usually seen as the 3rd point. And they're potentially going to try and win this, because even if they win the next one, they've got to come to this one anyway. Maybe they just want to get it out of the way. It allows them to then go to AVG afterwards and then go back to Trophy and that kind of semblance of building themselves up, and it might bait out what Sonny Carries are going to attempt, assuming, as you said, they've just talked about, all right, well, how we take AVG? Well, they won't be.
Quite possibly, because we don't see a book on the side of Sonny Carries, which isn't a problem. A sledge would have been equally as good. But looking onto this point, or this site, you've got me saying point now, which is something that I'm not a big fan of.
I'm sorry.
But looking onto this site, I think you could maybe get rid of the thermite, because the likelihood of you being in a position to actually use that is quite slim. Just in the fact that you're going to be looking toward a corridor, or, you know, there are a couple of places you can try and open as the thermite on this, but I don't think any have got as much impact as maybe a sledge or a book does, opening up the entire floor and really being able to get amongst it. Bashed and Kayak, I'm not sure if that was just pre-fire shots through the wall or not, but both players going to be finding themselves very low in the hit point department, and only 1 bullet from any of these guns is going to do the business. Of course, Kayak has the added extra of maybe a bit more of a splash range on the nitro cell is going to get him, or of course one of those goo mines. But top floor control is going to need to be established here for Sonny Carries, as they're, you know, book or no book, they're going to have to get that top floor control and look to open onto it. Bashed finding himself in the basement. He's probably going to keep himself hidden away until the later half of this round and try and swoop in as the hero again. And on low health, why not? He doesn't want to be getting himself involved in too many gunfights.
Yeah, the longer he is alive, even if his whole thing is just trying to, well, play the themed game mode and try and avoid any attackers catching you, that is a distraction. That is a disturbance. That is something that they know they're a player of your caliber. They might not know how injured you are, but they know that you're down there, and they've got to pay attention to it. In the meantime, Tyrant is actually doing some business onside the point. Grizzly is the first to suffer as some explosions go off under their feet, but nothing that has landed or caught so far. Quadzy wants to start doing some soft destruction above as they are setting to push and aggressively take the point from even, and this is the standard way of taking this. You head through the little connector, you find your way via laundry, crack open this exact wall and try and get the plant in close. In the meantime, your body's above, pressure, they open up the soft destruction, they force the defenders to not really be able to get comfortable inside, and it means they have to kind of play it as a bit of a hot point, because as you can see, angles like this completely catch them off as Quadzy finds a Moz, puts another one down. Bashed is one of the only 2 left now with only a fraction of health, but with Ivy, the last one on point, it's going to have to be done soon. The health across the attackers is nominal, but it's also very fractured, but it's a 5 versus 1. So it's all down to gunfights and gun skills now for IV to see if they can pull something out. The diffuser is going down on point, has everything to do at this moment in time, and no idea where anything is. Finds 1 on the site by the chassis. And now it's just a matter of, is he going to stick this? If he sticks this, okay. That was how that was going to go.
You've got little option.
Yeah,
You've got little option at that point as IV. That could work.
It could. That was the thing.
We'd be sat here screaming.
Yeah.
But it could work. And it'd be beautiful to see it.
It's like one of those things that's like, okay, I get why you're doing this. Like, I can see everything and I know how it's going to end, but I get why you're doing it. Like, it was close.
Well, that will put Sonny Carries onto a match point, as they've shown that not only are they able to defend onto Villa, they are able to attack onto it as well. Almost a flawless round, and I think, you know, obviously the diffuser going down, that counts as a couple of kills there, as we've got to respect our planters, as Ace likes to remind us frequently. But maybe that planter could have deserved a little bit more respect there and been covered so that he didn't die as he came off the plant. You know, could have been a flawless round coming out there. But it wasn't to be. Sonny Carries are going to take the round nonetheless. 6-2 currently, and Wind and Rain, they're finding themselves on a bit of an off day, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing about it is the team is one, obviously, the team name has history in Prem. They've been a really great org that's kind of got involved and supported and, you know, been a big part of this. But at the same time, you know, it's been a bit of a tough season. It's a generally new roster. These are a lot of names. This was one of the teams we looked at the beginning of the season and went, okay, we don't really know these guys. Let's see what they can do. And unfortunately, it wasn't a huge amount this time round. However, I'm really hoping they kind of stick together, keep finding rounds, keep finding themselves, because we've seen them change a few operators, we've seen them change a few in their lineup and stuff like that. And, you know, it's finding another way of kind of prolonging that experience and developing as a team to develop the scene. In the meantime, Bashed is going to try, well, we've seen a couple of Vigil run outs today already.
It's a dangerous spot, that, because as soon as you see, Quadsy there, ready for anything. Good night to Grizzly, as he does try and peek onto the master bedroom, as Claymore is already put out there as well from Harris. IV maybe looking to jump out, as Wind and Rain, they're going to be playing fairly aggressively here. They know that it's a pretty tough task that they're being faced with at this moment in time, but the spawn peak is never always the answer. And it is as punishing to the defenders as it can be as punishing to the attackers, because they should be free kills that the attackers with ACOGs win every single time. Quadsy taking things off with a double kill, as he does manage to take out IV as well, just outside of 90 corridor. Toxic Babe canisters are going to come through. That's going to stem the flow a little bit. Quadsy now looking for more. He's now going to be getting himself into a fight with Bashed on the Vigil, as he is going to push aggressively onto this. Stun Grenade comes out and it is going to force Bashed out of position. He knows that there could be somebody down the long corridor. The almost lined up perfectly for him. Bashed will take a good portion of damage for his troubles, as he now looks to look back down red stairs and just check that nobody is looking to flank on up. This round still very winnable for Wind and Rain. That's not going to make it any better for him though, as Tyrant finds Olmos 4 versus 2. Bashed super low health.
I don't understand the wide peaks. I don't understand things like that. You're already the man down. Yeah, that stuff can work sometimes, but he's just aggressively swung against you, and they're not going to double down on that and just hold it. In the meantime, we find ourselves, well, what looks like might be the end for Wind and Rain, and it is. Sonny Carries lock themselves down with a 7-2 across this map. Unfortunately, that was, well, the result that Wind and Rain wanted, but they can't quite make it land. Congratulations to Sonny Carries. They get themselves their 3rd win of the season, get themselves a couple more points before the break, and now they just have these playoffs to look forward to.
It's the scoreline that Wind and Rain wanted, but it isn't in the direction that they wanted it to be going. They wanted to be the ones that were sat there on 7. Look at Bash, despite his best efforts at 12 and 7, couldn't quite make it pull through. And well, Sonny Carries, they will be victorious on Villa.
Locking themselves into 5th place as well. For Wind and Rain, we knew it was a huge challenge coming into this game. Needed to win 7-3, sorry, or greater to be able to get in. Obviously not quite to be the case. We saw that in the opening 4 rounds. For Sonny Carries, 3 matches, 3 wins to end off the season, looking stronger as we progressed.
Yeah, they've really finished strong, and that's always important in the season as well, is to sort of finish on a high note. It's all well and good having a strong start, but if you can make that last throughout until the end, you do tend to see those teams developing a little bit further.
Yeah, it was the thing about it is they were one of those teams, as we said, they kind of had a bit of expectation and a bit of kind of big names, and then they had a lot of tough games at the beginning, and they unfortunately won't be able to pull them together, but they were doing really, really good things in those games, and then from this point onwards, you know, games like today where they're up against people where they're the bigger team, and we can kind of see what they're doing, and I'm really excited to see how they go back against the bigger teams in playoffs.
Yeah, it's a real tough one because I think in the first 4 games of the season, it's against those 4 teams that have already qualified today for the playoffs next week. Sorry, for LAN, I should say, actually, for 2 of them. The other 2 were already in playoffs, so it was a tough ride to start things off. But I think today, and especially last week, we've had 2 7-2 victories over Audacity and Wind and Rain, respectively. They have shown that class that I think we were all expecting to see earlier on this season.
Yeah, and it's important that you bring it out on the games that are very winnable for you, and I think that they've done a good job of winning the games that were winnable, and then maybe they're going to be able to go back and look on what perhaps went wrong in the games that they struggled in, because they did have a tough start to the season. And these games all the games were winnable in the past sort of 3 play days, I think. For both teams that have been playing in them, they have been very close, and it just so happens that Sonny Carries have really stepped it up when it mattered. And like you say, Wind and Rain still struggling to get that first win on the board throughout the course of the season.
But as a silver lining for Wind and Rain, Bash today, fantastic game. We've seen him have a good game before in previous weeks, but today I really did think he stood up and made a name for himself. Yeah, and as I said, he was one of those players that at the very beginning we kind of looked at and went, oh yeah, he is having an amazing play day, and they kind of recognized it themselves as well after the second one. And and that's the thing, is he's one of those players, again, even in a game that felt and looked this kind of one-sided, still managed to get a very good KD, still kept on putting bodies down, and you just think, yeah, I really want to see where this player can go. And you guys mentioned in terms of how this looks towards the playoffs now for Sonny Carries as well. Things have been looking better, looking on the up. I remember one of the call-outs we had against them in previous weeks was on the defensive side. They've left some gaping holes that we've just seen Na'Vi charge through in their game against them. That's the kind of thing we need to see rectified, I think, ahead of playoffs next week.
Yeah, without a doubt, you're going to be looking toward making sure that you've got a very solid defense. And Sonny Carries appear to have stepped things up a little bit. I mean, I'll speak about Quadzy for a moment. He's had some fantastic play on the Legion there, and done some really good work in both this week and last week as well. We've seen him getting out there, being that aggressive force, getting that opening frag, and it's just so important if you can have a player like that that's going to propel you as a team onward within the round. If you get that opening kill, it can be really crucial in Siege.
Yeah, well, let's have a look then who we think, well, not, I keep saying this every single time. Who do you think was the player of the match? There's your 3 on screen, Kayak, Tyrant and Bash. Not surprised to see his name there from the Wind and Rain lineup. Gents, who was yours out of those 3?
Kayak 100%, 2 exceptional clutches. One that came down to a 1v1, it was a 2v2, and then of course the 2v1 as well. Kayak on the smoke for me, definitely man of the match. But vote for who you want. Yeah. Don't let me tell you what to do.
This time,
I don't know anything.
Yeah, this time I'm not going to agree with you. I'm going to say Bash. Give it to Bash. Give War a win this season and make it the player of the day. Because, as I said, it's nice to see someone from the other team be able to still do well in a game.
Lots of Wind and Rain, but no lightning. Unfortunately, Sonny Carries the victors today, and we have an interview ready with Kayak, so let's see what his thoughts were on that game. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hi, Des, mate. Doing well. You?
Yeah, not too bad. Cheers, mate. So for you guys, pretty good end to the season. We all said at the start it was rocky with tough games against 4 of the teams that have already got through either to LAN or into playoffs. These last 3 games, 3 wins. I think for you guys, did you believe you always had it in you to come out strong at the end of the season?
Yeah, when we first saw the schedule at the start of the season, we knew it was going to be hard to pick up points within the first 4 or so weeks. Played Na'Vi first, M&M, got a good result of M&M. Actually, the only team to take points off them so far. And
nice
yeah,
flex
so
over Na'Vi there as well, yeah.
the last 3 games, we knew we needed to pick up points, and we performed especially well in the last 2 games.
Yeah, so how do you feel now going into playoffs next week? Again, you guys sit in 5th in this case. Next week's going to be a tough battle, and you're going to have to go back and beat those teams that you've either lost to or drawn against historically. How do you fancy your chances? Do you think the team has grown over the last few weeks?
Yeah, teams definitely grew throughout the weeks. We've obviously got Blair back as well, just in time for the playoffs, which is ideal for us, so we don't have to play with another pickup. I believe we play Am with the boys. I'm not too sure though. But friends of a bunch of guys in their team. It was a 6-6 series, so be a good one for sure. I can tell you that.
Fair enough. And going to Villa today, was there any kind of thinking behind that? Was it well, we don't really play Villa, so we'll hide it away? Or was it, hey, we do play Villa, let's just play it for the sake of it? What was the approach to this game today in particular?
Just wanted to play Villa.
Just wanted to play Villa. Maybe if you have some of the comments like
Yeah.
Randy earlier on, it's running around like a bunch of monkeys on the map. But hey, a victory is a victory. Congratulations on that one, and hopefully I'll speak to you after your potential victory next week in the playoffs.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
No worries. So there we go. 7-2, very dominating statement to end the season for these guys. Sonny Carries started out as a team that we weren't really quite sure which way they'd go. Really strong end to the season. I think playoffs next week will be really exciting for them.
It will be, and like you say, they've stepped it up throughout the course of the season, and I'm expecting them to see, them bring that to the playoffs as well, and really go out fighting, because they've got a good chance there of making it to LAN, I believe.
Yeah, and obviously, they've already said, well, they think they might be up against Time with the boys. I'm really bad at working this stuff out, so I'll leave it to the graphics people to tell me who's playing who. But, that's the thing about it, is we saw these fights early on in the season. We saw them kind of play against each other. Those are two of the teams that were very exciting teams. Now we get to see them in these playoffs. Now we get to see what they've learned about each other, about the rest of the game. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be really fun.
It absolutely is. Well, of course, we're speaking about playoffs, but what follows not long after it is, of course, those finals in Manchester on the 23rd of November. Get your tickets at the link below myself, esl.im/R6S finals. Did you look across there to see if it was actually below me?
I was just going to ask you, isn't that your birthday?
It is, mate. I'm so glad you said that. It's also my birthday, guys, just in case you didn't know from the for 3,000 times I've mentioned it so far today. Do get your tickets, though. Come and join us. It was an absolute blast last time in Manchester. I have no doubt we can pack it out exactly the same way we did last time. But we are going into a quick break before we come back with the match to watch for the day. It's Fierce versus M&M, the final game of the season. You don't want to miss that one. Back with you real soon.
At the highest level of play, there can be no compromises. Gamers demand the highest clock speeds to give them the FPS they need to perform. Rise to the moment. Intel Core i7, the official CPU of the ESL National Championships. Game, record, stream without compromise.
Ah, this time the headset's on. I promise you haven't caught me in the middle of getting my headset ready this time round. Welcome back though. We're going into the third and final game of the day. And again, it's our match to watch. It's the one that really counts. If you're interested in seeing who finishes in third place, based on the outcome of this game, we may find that a best of 3 has to take place between Fierce and I'm with the boys to determine who takes that third spot. That is entirely dependent on this game going 7-4 to M&M though. And based on them beating Na'Vi, you're hoping they got quite a bit of beans about them and they can just go forward and charge forward and win this one out.
I mean, a 7-4 is a very realistic scoreline, I think.
Yep.
And these two teams, they're going to be well prepared moving into this fixture. We got to speak to M&M last week after their victory against Na'Vi, and they were very confident coming into this. I think that they're going to be very well prepared. And Fierce, as we know, quite a technical side. They've got strats. They know what they want to do. They know how they want to play. It's going to be an interesting one. I know that much.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of thing about it is you know, this is obviously our match to watch. These are teams that have done really, really well. This is going to be a battle. M&M could be the best team in all of this, which I think is just a great thing to say when you've got Na'Vi in the roster. And for everyone that kind of said, well, this is an easy set of money for Na'Vi, is it? I guess we'll find out.
We will. But again, we keep mentioning these team names and you might not be 100% sure of who is on those teams. So here are the rosters that we'll be playing. It's Nathan versus Nathan Dot, guys.
Yeah, and you know, we've seen good things coming out of both Nathans. I think Nathan Dot maybe edged it last week, but Nathan No Dot is not to be trifled with either.
Looking for the dots, he pointing towards the heads of the opposition for most of the day, I'm sure. But around them, of course, there are team members that are worth speaking about here. We've seen some good games from guys like Keenan. Patbull's had a good couple of weeks as well. Dats, again, one of the players we looked towards getting an ace earlier in the season on Coastline, playing on the Ash. There is a lot of quality across both of these teams. And honestly, this is one of the games in my mind that's quite tough to call. Despite M&M having a very good game against Na'Vi, Fierce have shown multiple times what they are capable of. Again, one of these teams that had a bit of a rocky start to the season, but once they came into form, they're showing us exactly what they're made of.
Yeah, and I think that you can kind of see it on the spread here, obviously with 3-2-1. They're in this kind of situation where they 6-6 I'm with the boys, but they clean swept through Sonny carries on the 7-2. And Cafe, a team that we've just seen is excellent, and then, you know, sure, they didn't beat Na'Vi, but they still pulled 3 rounds from them, and they had some good rounds against it. They had some good fight against the team, and you know, they're a team that are capable, and they're just trying to find the confidence for the games where things go right.
Yeah, you know, that 6-6 against Down with the boys could really come back to bite Fierce, I think, you know, because that's a fixture that we were kind of expecting them to edge it out and to win, but just to see it so close and go to a draw just puts that much more weight on this fixture today, coming now up against M&M. And like you say, Des, I think this one is really going to be a tough one to call.
The fact that it was 6-6 last week is what leads us into this spot today, where there might be a best of 3 to determine which of those teams takes third spot. Like you say, that could have much further reaching implications than we know. Yes, it doesn't sound like a massive deal between who gets third and who gets fourth, but it determines entirely who your opponent is next week, how much prep you got to do. And we've already seen Sonny's carries compared to Exillium, who'll be sitting in 6th. No offense to Exillium, I think there's a pretty big gap between those two teams at the moment.
Yeah, without a doubt, and you're going to want to give yourself the best chance to make it to those live finals. So there's nothing really wrong with, you know, wanting that slightly easier playoff game if that's how you're going to see it, or if you feel like you're maybe more suited to win against a team like Exillium as opposed to a team like Sonny Carries. So a lot to play for tonight, that is for sure.
And I think that's the thing that's going to make this an exciting game to watch. It's just these teams, yeah, they're in these positions where they've made it, they're in these positions where they're good, but you've got to start trying to prove yourself now as one of these top tier teams, because there's only obviously going to be a few of them at the LAN. They've got to get through the kind of playoff situations, whatever happens here. If you can make one of the teams that's kind of guaranteed to bleed, then that's a lot of confidence to move forward with.
It absolutely is. Well, we are ready for the map veto, so let's bring that up now, and we can start seeing what map we'll get into. Gents, final chance at a prediction. You can't pick Coastline because it's banned away, so pick a different map.
How much is riding on this one, Des? We got a lot riding on it.
Well, both of you have lost every single prediction so far.
Yeah.
So now you're fighting for pride more than anything else.
This one winner takes all.
Yes.
Right, I'll let Fleet go first.
I'm going to still, I'm doubling down. No, tripling down.
Tripling down.
Tripling my double. Is that a gambling term? I would be a terrible gambler. I would have no money.
Excellent.
I've got to throw it to bank. I've just got a feeling.
All right, I'm going to go with Villa on this one, just to be completely out there, but let's see what these bands look like. Conscious in the first round to Fluke, you're already out on that one.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We are going to bank. There we go. Winner takes all. There's your victor for today.
Thank you.
It was Villa or Bank. I was close. All right, we'll go down to that one. Bank we're seeing for the second time tonight then. Thoughts on that map, gents?
It's a very technical map. We've seen it play out already this evening.
Yep.
We've seen what can happen when you're willing to get out there on the roam. And when you falter as an attacker, you can't afford to waste any time on Bank. Both these teams being quite, you know, good at attacking, and we're not really seeing too many holes there. But it only takes a couple of mistakes, and as we've seen, it really comes down to those operator bans and how it plays out.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about it, is the amount of times there was kind of those head scratch moments or the little frustrations and little mistakes. These are two teams that arguably have had better seasons and are statistically of a better caliber, so let's see them prove it. Let's see them not make the same mistakes that we saw cost those bottom of the table teams.
Are you a religious man, Ali?
No.
Do you believe in the voice of God? Do you know what's coming? He went and asked production what the bands were.
Maybe.
Oh,
Maybe.
okay.
This man is a fraud.
Wow.
A charlatan,
I'll win at any cost.
I like how...
And a fraud.
I'm assuming production told you this as well, because they let that whole thing play out and then waited just to get you exposed on
Did you hear
stream.
that when they were speaking?
No, but I knew what it was. I could tell straight away.
You're a religious man. Do you believe in God? Because he knows you're a liar right now.
They never, to be fair, they never tried with me because they know my guesses are a lost cause at this point.
Listen, I needed all the help I could get. Tim showed us all up last week.
I'm just going to say off the back of this one, Flute wins purely on the basis that he cheated. But we want to know who you think is going to win this game. Get that ESL UK on Twitter and let us know your thoughts for this one. We are going into the final game for the evening, the final one of the regular season. M&M versus Fierce. Gents, take it away.
Thank you very, very much, Desert Chew. We're going to see Bank for the second time tonight. This is, of course, our match to watch. M&M Gaming are going to be facing off against Fierce. Fierce are going to be starting out on the defense, and they choose to take away the Hibana, a very standard ban coming out, first of all, for this map of Bank.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned it very briefly about banning a hard destruction, and you do, because there's so many places where having a Hibana allows you just a bit more control. It's never usually the Thermite, because they're going to double down anyway.
See, this is what I'm scared of with Bank, because Bank plays out weird now. From this point onward,
this is...
Bank is going to be strange.
Yeah, this is Bank with an asterisk. This is... Okay, what the sentence I was going to finish was, if you do one or the other, then it's usually Hibana over Thermite for hatch control. They've gone with both, and at this point, the defenders have never had an easier time on some of this. You think about those points. You think about what is now down to a Maverick to break open and how long that can take for some very quick walls to be aggressive against. Yeah, Maestro's gone. Yeah, Mira's gone. They're usually both gone. Whatever. But the defense have an easy ride, especially on that basement point right now.
It just makes everything that much harder for those attackers. And that's not to say that Fierce are going to come out here and go flawless on defense and win 6-0. I'm sure that M&M Gaming are going to work around this and they're going to find a way to make this work in their favor. That being said, it makes things much harder for them, and it just increases that likelihood that we are going to see a draw play out. Because, as we said, we can't really separate these teams at this moment in time. Sure, there's a bit of a scoreline difference going on there with M&M Gaming having won 5 games and Fierce only winning 3. But Fierce, you know, we've not seen them be as consistent as they would maybe like to be. And I think, you know, moving into this fixture, Fierce are going to be really well prepared at trying to, you know, edge this one out. And don't forget, I mean, it was the weirdest thing is here that M&M Gaming banned that second hard breach, because we saw Hibana come in as the first ban. And then we saw M&M almost do it to themselves. So are they just on another level of thought at this moment in time?
Yeah, maybe they've got some bold play where they've, you know, Drac is the best Maverick player in the world. They've given him the diffuser as well. The horse eating the lunchbox in the top, as it was pointed out to me, is where they line up. But it's the whole idea of, they've made it so tough to get into this point now. At the same time, I would like to draw attention to the fact that there is a Warden, a very rarely seen operator on the board, playing in server stairs, which is as weird as to say for an operator you never really see. If you do see him, this is one of the 3 places you see him in.
And we've not seen Warden yet at his full sort of capability, I don't think, with it being introduced relatively recently. And he's an operator that does provide value. And that ability to sort of not really need those ADSs placed allows them to be placed elsewhere. And he can, you know, sure, a grenade's going to get him, but how often do we see people try and get in with a Zephyr, or get in under the cover of smoke, or get in under the cover of just a couple of flashbangs? Nades aren't always there, you know, in the right place at the right time. So Prox could see some success down there. It does all depend on how this push comes through, but already able there to shoot out the breach in charge, really taking this fight. He's already had time to move around onto the shotgun, and well, Packbull, I don't fancy your chances in this situation. Sure, you've got the LMG, but the barbed wire's there to be dealt with as well. And we've already seen that Prox is willing to get out there and get aggressive. Packbull now entirely shifting his focus. I don't think that breach in charge is going to be shot, fortunately enough for him. But look at this, no hatches yet being open. And well, Prox is going to be a really tough cookie to crack here, because there's not a great deal that they're going to be able to do to push him out. We've got Keenan playing down inside a server. That hatch is maybe going to get open, but it's going to take a good portion of time, and it's a lot of the blowtorch to be using just on trying to remove 2 players out of server.
What I really like as well is what Prox has done with the shield is he's pulled it a little bit further back from the door. Pack opens up the frag, take care of the Pulse, and that's a pretty big opening kill because Pulse can be such a detriment when buried inside gold, especially with the C4 off the table. But as I was saying, the reason that the reinforcement is slightly further away from the door at the top of the stairs on server means that they cannot take it out from range. They have to get close, they have to swing into sight, and what has just happened? As they swing their way through onto sight and find body after body, suddenly it is just one defender gone. A complete sweep for M&M to go, well, they've set everything up over here, I'm not gonna go that way.
What have we just witnessed? M&M coming out there. There's little option, you know, attacking onto lockers, no hard breacher, only a Maverick. There is little option to try and get any ground or to, I mean, heaven forbid, get a plant down. You've just not got that time. You're not afforded that sort of space and that room to operate as an attacker, so the hatch drop has to come out. And well, Packbull opened things up. He got that pick as he dropped into the hatch and then was just allowed to progress on it. The comms on Fierce at that point must have been frantic, just trying to figure out where everybody's dying from.
That was insane. That was so well played and so well put together. And that's the thing about it. So, you know, this is when I said we can kind of find more obvious comparisons between this game based on how the teams have been playing and based on how the teams have kind of been working as a unit to the first game that we saw this evening. And that's such an instant difference. To be able to kind of read and go, right, well, they're all here. And then when the collapse comes from the side of M&M, who, well, you've predicted is going to be able to take this, you know, and it just kind of all came together at the same moment. It was the drop of a dime, and then they're in the 3 versus 1, and you've got to really give a big amount of credit to, as he said, the communication from Fierce, I bet, was frantic and worried, but from M&M, it was almost like a, okay, go, and now we're in there with the point control, and it was really, really good movement.
Now, Fierce changing it up. They lost downstairs in lockers. That kind of strategy isn't going to work time after time after time. I don't know why they've chosen to come upstairs in CEO, because although it's important to try and get those walls open in CEO and get a plant down and get control of square stairs, there are other options for attacking onto this site. There are other ways and means of getting the job done. That's going to do a heck of a lot of good work, as Drak is going to fall, being the only option for hard destruction, albeit the Maverick. It is really now going to force M&M and funnel them down. Prox is going to be down. I'm not sure if he is going to be converted. He is, as Packbull continues his first blood reign. Nathan Dots also finding one over onto Alfie. So quite quickly, M&M Gaming finding themselves in the driver's seat once again, and just so much time left on this clock.
Well, now they're trying to get control of Square and Skylight and see if they can collapse from that side. In the meantime, Jackal is trying to creep his way around the basement and see if he can find any footprints to follow to, well, someone else's death. This is another operator where we saw it bought in the previous spin round, but was often put further away from where it could actually be effective. Here, getting the information from the wide side roam that teams have to do to be able to set up this point, and you can see them instantly scared even though they're deep inside. Then from this moment in time, the rest of the players can begin to collapse around the side. You can see Dats trying to apply some pressure against Banana. In the meantime, Keenan is suffering from the fight on the windows, and Dats' job at this moment is to just protect the man on the windows. Make sure no one swings down the stairs and finds the frag, but it doesn't even matter because Nathan just guns it out anyway.
Nathan now going to find himself on the window. Different Nathan, it is worth mentioning, as we are now in a 3 versus 2 with M&M taking a pretty commanding lead so far. Shots are going to be exchanged there, but Nathan there not able to land the shots, I believe, onto the other Nathan. So all very confusing now, as we do have a bit of a Nathan inception going on, but we are going to see the Legion peek out of Janitors, and what a kill he's going to find onto Jonker. That's huge. It levels the man count out at 2 apiece, and now M&M really have to do something. Keenan, he's challenging onto the window. He knows that somebody's playing there, and he doesn't want to get too aggressive onto it. An upside down repel isn't something that you really want to challenge from that sort of a range. You want to be much further away, but no, the run out is going to come, and Keenan is going to fall. And that now leaves Nathan in a 1 versus 2 situation, and well, I'm sure that the plant will start. In fact, the plant may not go down because the plant is actually outside on repel. Dats is going to have to apply some pressure to allow Nathan to be able to get on inside of sight. If he moves out too much, he's going to expose himself, and he does. Nathan wins, but no, the trade comes through in the end. Dats in the right place at the right right time, clutching the round out there for M&M. That's a round that Fierce really should have looked to have won, but Keenan there just getting on the wrong end of the run out, and then the double kill not happening in those dying seconds. That's huge for Fierce. Despite 2 hard breaches being banned, M&M still picking up rounds.
Yeah, the second one there was, well, it was a little bit closer to the wire, but they did bring it together. A really good attempt there from the Legion. A bit curious why, obviously, they rotated so hard on the other side of Desk to try and get the diffuser down when they did. Maybe they thought a bit of missed comms and a bit of miscommunication as to where that Legion had found themselves, but really, really good pick up there to be able to double down, find the trades that they needed, and I think that was one of the good signs. We saw the Zofia doubling up to help the man on the windows. We saw them kind of creep round the right side of Banana, didn't try and take the fight on the other side, went, well, let's take this man out first. We know where he is, put ourselves in the 2-1, and then go from there, and it came together. Nathan is greater than Nathan, says Eminem.
See, that's well and good, but which Nathan?
There's no dot there. I can't tell.
I can't tell.
You know, where's the punctuation that helps, I think, is the easiest thing. You want to choose a dot in your name, you got to represent that dot all times.
I think whoever wins this game, that Nathan gets to keep their name.
Yeah.
And then the other Nathan must change it in some way.
Yeah, and maybe we can get a poll going. Someone poll it, put it in chat. What should the losing Nathan be called? Please, something that won't get their Uplay account banned.
Everyone loves a good poll.
Everyone loves a good poll.
He just needs to add a 4 as one of the A's, or get a little bit creative with it. As it stands, Fierce are struggling to make things work. They're going to go back downstairs to lockers. I'm not sure if they've got what it takes at this point, because don't forget, Fierce are then going to move on to the attack. With the way that we've seen M&M attacking so far, and the fact that they banned out the hard breacher, or the second hard breacher, should I say, looks like they're more than comfortable in this environment. If they're able to pick up more than sort of 3 rounds on attack, on bank, could be very dangerous.
Yeah, and that's, you know, if they take lockers twice in a pretty much hard destructionless game, it just kind of says a lot about how well they're playing as a team right now. Going for a more traditional take here, and I think they've realized, well, they can't quite do it with the same pace because, well, there's been a more kind of defensive effort here from Fierce. They've doubled down inside the point, and they've kept themselves inside gold. They're holding the main stairs as well, and this is going to be down to M&M to try and crack their way through, and there is the opening. A great grenade over the top takes care of the smoke. A huge operator and a huge bit of utility.
This is really dangerous now from M&M because they've got that pick onto the smoke, so they can't really deny or choke off that point. Sure, they've got C4s, but they don't know when to toss them because they're not going to be able to tell when the wall is open unless they've got a good yokai drone there that's alive still and going to be able to provide them that information. That's finding one onto that echo, so no yokai drone will be in place. Now that wall's been open and the plant should come through very, very shortly. Kills are coming in now for Fierce, however, as unfortunately Nathan does take out Dats. That could be a heck of a blow for M&M to deal with at this moment in time, as it is going to leave them at a man disadvantage. But the wall is open sufficiently and the plant could start to come through now. Drac just waiting for his teammate Pikebull to get here and be able to back him up. There's lines of sight onto the typical spot that someone would use inside of red to try and look to deny this, but I'm not sure if Prox has still got a C4 in hand, or Keenan for that matter. Free-fire shots come out now from Drac as we enter the final minute, and Pikebull there has taken out that yokai drone with his IQ scanner. Drone's being set up now to watch the flank as Pikebull, he's got a big job to do here, so he needs all the help he can in the form of drones to try and assist his teammate in getting this plant down, because a retake from here could be very difficult indeed. Drac knows that somebody is playing upstairs, but looks as though he's going to try and stick the plant anyway. He's going to throw in some flashbangs, but no, he's going to push his way all on through into sight. Manages to find one, but doesn't be able to convert the kill. Now we're in a 1 versus 3. Fierce have the easy cleanup and do manage to grab that round. That's why they went down to lockers for the second time, and I can only think that they're sat there wishing they'd gone there in round 2.
Yeah, a couple of bad moments and bad mistakes made things kind of fall apart for M&M, and at the same time, that's what we were talking about of how good that point can be without 2 methods of hard destruction. They really had to force their way through a very limited play space. The angles become very tight, very dangerous, and very easy to lock off. Yes, they got the smoke as the opening frag and then found a second body, but even then, just from being able to be behind the kind of bomb chassis to hold the angles against the site and to be able to kind of keep it a little bit deeper, it just shows how good that point is. However, obviously we're all talking about this, and this is something that M&M are going to have in their favor when they swap over to the defense. So those 2 rounds that they took as the first 2, whether Fierce flawless it from this point onwards to the turn of the half, well, they could come back to haunt Fierce on the opposite side.
Weak showing from us so far. Let's see if we can keep 3rd place. They need to do better than a 7-4 loss. Yeah, so Fierce, of course, looking to keep hold of that spot and looking to try and stave M&M off at this moment in time. Talk to me about Fierce's sort of site selection here, because we're seeing him go up to CEO again. We saw banking game number 1, and we saw downstairs favoured almost equally as anywhere else, or ground floor, should I say. Is the CEO the right choice for them? Because M&M did a really good job of shutting them down.
Well, what I'm looking at right now is the 3 ACOGs that they're currently rolling with in the hands of Alfie, Nathan, and the Echo. And if these are something where they want to kind of play this as big firing lines and try and take M&M by surprise, this is a point that, well, perfectly kind of encapsulates that. You can set yourself up on Banana. You can hold Kanto corner, as we see Alfie doing. Though he's doing it with a P90, which is a bit of a curious decision. But, hey, you know, Pro 90 for a reason. And then at the same point, you know, it's something where we've seen them lose lockers once in pretty spectacular fashion, and then they doubled down with potentially a B strategy, potentially their real A strategy.
What is going on?
And it worked. Prox is waiting in ambush, in a bush, ready to strike when the moment is right, and there it is. Hits 1, waited for the cover on the windows, but can't quite find it, but looks for a second and no. Does the damage, though, as Zafir's off the table. Packball picks up the trade, but that's a big bit of lobby control.
You've got to drone those corners when you're moving in through that portion of the map. It's unforgivable because it's so easy to hide in one of those dark spots, especially, like you say, near those bushes. So to lose the Zafir, quite big there, because Zafir's job is to keep everyone safe on the repels. Alfie going to be continuing this fine form for Fierce as he does grab one onto Jonker as well. So nobody going to be worried about getting Jackal tracked now if they do find themselves out there on their own. That line of sight that's been opened by the Mavericks pretty interesting, because it's actually providing a good line all the way through onto the window. And I think Alfie, he knows someone's there now because he received shots in return, but maybe the contrast there looking out of the window from such a distance, a little bit too much to deal with at that moment. But he's got the option to rotate down into lobby as there's no one now holding on to that. Nathan getting himself in a fight outside Janitors. He's also going to choose to get himself onto main stairs, but look at those heads-up plays from Nathan out on the repel. Knows that no one's watching the angle down there. Maybe there's a drone there that's assisted him, but he's managed to get that kill onto Alfie and level that man count out. Nathan now is going to look to try and push back up the stairs as he doesn't want to leave his guys short on the site in this final minute.
Well, they've got a little bit left to do here, M&M, before they're comfortable trying to execute against the point. It's a 3 versus 3, sure, and you pulled this point out previously when you found yourself in similar situations, but you've got to try and double down as you did so brilliantly before and actually try and put bodies through the ground. Keenan is holding as much as he can behind the chassis of the bomb, but with every single wall starting to fall apart, he finds an amazing swing against Packbull, and he's now going to look for the second, but he can't quite make it work. Back to a 2 versus 2, but Nathan has 26 seconds to find his way in, and still 2 frag grenades. 1 frag grenade as he swings the first in, and Drax going to go deep for a plant. They try and hit the back of Janitors as well, but currently, and pretty expertly, Nathan has pulled his way off point, and he's going to try and loop around the back and use the Maverick hole, so potentially the Janitor entrance against them. However, a bit too late and a bit too little. We're in a post-plant situation. Nathan hops out the window, and it's going to be held down for now inside, and Penguin is going to do the jump out, but he can't quite make it work. M&M lock down another round on this top floor.
And that is how you hold onto the jump out from down bottom, because you can't be shot. Too difficult there for the Echo, to get that angle looking down. Much better for the attacker to be on the rappel there, being able to look up and shoot just as you jump out the window inside of the animation. M&M doing a good job there of clutching that round out, because it looked for a moment as if it really could have gone toward Fierce. Keenan under so much pressure inside of the site. That kill through the Maverick hole. How many times do we see the Maverick hole opened and then the defender is the one that gets the first kill out through it?
Oh yeah, it's always one of the most satisfying kills as well, especially when it's against the Maverick and you're a bandit and you just kind of go, haha, take that. You know, I know it's often quoted, but it's a classic phrase at this point in the famous words of Emzo, holes work both ways.
You know, it is something that has been reiterated throughout every Siege broadcast, I think. But they really do, you know, and it's important to recognise that because these Maverick, and it's Maverick holes particularly. Yeah. I think, you know, Thermite and Ivana, yeah, they work both ways, you know, all of them do, but particularly Maverick holes. Yeah. They're the ones you got to watch out for.
It's the thing about Maverick is, yeah, his gadget makes sense to a lot of people. It's one of those gadgets that is easy to begin to use, but so hard to master. Anyone can burn a hole through a wall like that, but so many people just suffer from it because they can't get the angle. They can't do the tricks that you see when you take out the entire hard wall, or the ability to use enough to kind of burn through a hatch and stuff like that. And that could be the make or break for some teams. And if you know, M&M are trying to rotate who's generally on it. Packbull is now back on the Maverick, and it's the thing about with the double hard destruction off, if Fierce have a fantastic Maverick player, they might be able to pull it off. If they have an average Maverick player and that's all they got, well, there's going to be some very hard attacks.
Darts is making sure to drone every nook and cranny now, this time as he enters on through main door, as he isn't going to want to make that same mistake 2 times in a row. Although it did hurt M&M in the early game, they had enough information exchange and they had drones set up in good enough positions to where it wasn't too much of a trouble. But CEO coming out once again as the site from Fierce. They've lost it 2 times now. It does beg the question as to why they're not trying to mix things up a little bit more, because I would have thought at this point that they'd be fairly used to, you know, right, things aren't working here. It's not even that close. M&M are doing a really good job of burning all the utility. You saw we've already lost, Paul Penguin's already lost 1 of his yokai drones. He's still got 1 left, but it's just burning through it so quickly. We're not even a minute in and already he's lost 1 of his yokai drones. Like, what's going on? You know, you wouldn't expect to see that. Prox is going to be starting the account, or opening the account onto Nathan Dot there, as we do see an early kill. Nathan, of course, on the sledge. He's been holding from the window and doing a good job with the grenades, just trying to shift those defenders around in sight and getting the kills when it counts. Of course, assisting in the plank going down as well in the previous round. So that could be a really big kill. It is going to need someone on the side of M&M to retake that position on the rappel, because that's been providing so much of the success so far for M&M. But Packbull, he's going to be looking to open the wall up. If he opens it, he could even do a bit of damage here to the Jaeger that's playing there. It is going to be Keenan. He's just going to get murdered through the hole. Keenan doesn't take any damage whatsoever, and well, it's looking great for Fierce in this moment in time. They've got an opening pick. The Maverick's no longer a factor, and Keenan's even been gifted with a nice little peek hole to look through. Sure, he's seeing some pressure from the windows, but if I know Keenan, he's going to be half tempted to run out onto this and try and pick up some kills for himself, because his team have got the man advantage now.
One of the things that I really like that Fierce have changed this time around is they had 2 bodies off point that weren't just instant sacrifices. However, Jonker doesn't care. Finds a double kill as Drac finds another and pulls it to a 3 versus 2. M&M are so good at adapting to what Fierce are doing and then just collapsing upon it. Alfie is kind of dug in now. He's trying to hold on, but he's being jackal tracked. They are well aware of where he is, and he's just going to try and hunker and bunker down behind the reinforced shield and wait for them to try and push. The double ADSs is going to keep him safe from that, but now he knows one's to the side, so he's going to smoke it off and suffer the blast from the window. The Jaeger is really his only saving grace and does at least some of the work, but there's a body either side and 15 seconds left, so they're going to start getting aggressive. Has to go and recollect the diffuser, and now they've got to find their way into point to try and find the body. The smoke is in a position where he's got to take this as firefights. Waits, sprays against one, but can't quite find it the second time. M&M 4-1 in a hard destructionless attack against Bank.
Tough goal there from Alfie to try and dip away from that fight. I think if he wins that engagement there onto the Zafira, it could have been a much different story because the clock was really ticking down. But his instincts there, trying to keep himself alive and to try and affect onto the plant as the time was so low. Much closer there for Fierce, but still, you know, a 2 versus 1. It's not that close, you know, when you've got, especially when everyone's on site and you're going to be looking toward getting a trade. That smoke can't get 2 kills in, you know, the same second, if you will. You should always get traded out in that moment in time. So a really tough one to call there, and it is now time for Fierce to rotate off. They're going to go back down to lockers. This is the only site that they've won so far. I think we were expecting them to win all attacks, all defense, down in lockers. And aside from that first round where M&M showed great sort of initiative in dropping the hatch and really taking the fight to Fierce, it's been a tough ride for Fierce so far.
Yeah, and I think, you know, M&M have played brilliantly. They've responded well to what Fierce are doing, and they're able to keep being aggressive against a point, even when things start to not really go their way. Some of the kind of, you know, they've instantly taken Pack off of Maverick and swapped it over to Drak. They're attacking Lockers for the 3rd time, once successful, once not. And the shutdown Fierce did here was good. They were able to kind of keep them at bay, keep them kind of battered off, and it was the most default, and you're on a very nice kind of point for no hard destruction, but at the same time, you know, you really should have been able to bag a little bit more, and some of it just seems to be a couple of bits of miscommunication. Tries to go for the pre-fire, might get caught out. There's bodies approaching both windows. They'll be well aware that Prox is out on the loose, and, well, it's just going to head as quickly as they can towards open area.
Yeah, it's going to be on Jackal to try and get those footprints and really locate the Valkyrie there and Prox as an operator and just try and shut him down as he tries to retreat back onto site. Look how quickly Nathan is moving throughout this map. We saw him play Knock so many times last week against Navi, and he did a very, very good job of it indeed. Not seen him, you know, turn up as much today, but I believe there's been other members on the side of M&M that have been sort of sharing the kills this evening, as he is going to drone his way all down into open area and maybe look to try and get some of these hatches open with the sort of assistance of his teammate. But of course, it is going to be few and far between as we are left with only Maverick to try and open onto those hatches. And well, that blowtorch, there's argument that there's more value for that elsewhere. And if these two breach and charge do nothing else, at least they'll shift the players out of open area and force them maybe back down on into site. Was that hatch open there? Has Maverick already been doing some good stuff and getting one of the hatches open down in small office? I believe he has, or maybe it was open from the defenders as they've been trying to, you know, use that as a line of rotation back in. It's a bold move to leave that one open if that's what the defenders did.
Yeah, it's a very bold move. We saw it a little bit earlier today as well, especially as you can see it's where they've kind of got the Legion. So theoretically, he's going to try and cause problems up there, and then he's going to impact the one right by him, drop from that, drop straight down, and he's in point. And he's got, you know, a second, 2 seconds of transition time before he's safe on the point. But at the same time, you hand them, in that move, a very strong hatch. So you better hope that that Legion does some good work. In the meantime, Nook is ready to try and push against the Echo, who is just going to hold the angle. And, well, you're assuming that she's at least a bit aware as she goes and charges around. In the meantime, Smoke is taken out of the equation, but so are a couple of players for M&M. And there's another one, Penguin. Finds the Nook inside Garage, and now it is a 4 versus 2. With a minute on, there's time, sure, but you're pushing a very tough point. There's a lot of bodies there, and they still have a lot of utility. So this is starting to look like another round in favor of Fierce.
What is it with M&M and team killing when they're attacking onto this side? They're not doing themselves any favours at this moment. Sure, they've managed to take out the smoke, but as you rightly say, Fluke, there's a lot of work to do now for the remaining 2 players. And they could do worse than just try and drop that hatch, but it does look as though we're going to see Prox get himself outside into Dirt Tunnel, as he's not really left with much option. He's actually given that control there up over to Packbull, and it's going to allow Packbull to push on it in. He did have the diffuser in hand, kills traded in either direction. Dats is going to be down, not able to withstand himself. And well, Fierce are going to win for the 2nd time and downstairs in Lockers. A 4-2 split coming out in Bank, but not the 4-2 split we are used to seeing. This one has gone to the attackers.
So M&M, this is yours to throw. This is yours to lose at this point. You need 2 defensive rounds. Even if you take those both on Lockers, you know, which is a point where you're really setting yourself up, it would be a throw from your house. Fierce could play a fantastic game, but if they've got to hit Lockers twice and they don't have 2 hard destruction, that's you letting them through at that point. That's really you just kind of allowing them to enter, allowing them through the gates, because the building itself is locking them out and you're kind of working against it. Don't get me wrong, Fierce could play the most unbelievable siege I think I've ever seen. It's just M&M are already playing pretty well, so it would be surprising to see. However, who knows? I'm gonna keep some optimism about this. I'm not going to completely shoot their chances just yet. Setting themselves up to hold it. They've got a good balance of information. The Ella, I'm assuming, is going to be in server stairs.
Yeah, we often see the Ella playing inside of those server stairs. That looks to be a focus, really, as we've seen this map play out so far this evening. The focus has always been in and around that blue stairs area. That being said, with 2 hard breaches banned, I think attackers could do worse than to try and get that opening pick on into Garage, take that main stairs control, and really use that as a point of contention to push on into the site, because so often we see, as soon as that Garage control is lost, you've already got a line of sight onto red because the defenders have very kindly already opened it up for you. And you get a lot more to work with there instead of funneling yourself into the servers where you know that you haven't got the right tools to open it all up.
It's the thing about it. We've seen that work. Obviously, the first attack round here was they aggressively pushed because they read that they were doing this lead-in defense towards servers, which is what you would normally do in this situation because it's the normal way of breaking in. Nobody ever really takes the vault side because it's so hard to drop in via the vault hatch. It becomes almost impossible if you're using that as the lead in your defense because, as you can see, the wall from the B site is soft. They can just shoot through it. If they've got good information, it's very noisy, yada yada, reasons. However, as you said, if they double down on main stairs, if they put some pressure from garage, if they pull attention away and kind of draw some kind of treat where Nathan is as the back of the point, they might be able to find some success with it.
And the thing is, when the operator bans change, you've got to adapt the way that you play because you can it's no longer meta then to take blue stairs and to push in through server. The meta then changes based on what operators you've got available for you. Rooting someone like Nathan out of blue stairs now, he's already wasted half the round, and all he's done, and that's the first thing we've seen him do, shoot one drone.
Yeah, and
he's got an ADS, he's got a shield, he's got a Grismot.
It's the thing about it is, Jonker opens up the frags and takes care of the hard destruction. Well, now you are playing with the building, and that is all you get. The pings are coming out, but it means nothing, because they know it's an Ella. Nathan doesn't have to peek in any sense of the word, and he's not going to. He's going to play back, he's going to let them push themselves in. They're burning the ADS, they're flashing him, he's turning away brilliantly, he's keeping a control of all it. Look how many bodies are set up. There goes an Ella mine, but there goes Ella. But there is the trade from the bottom of the stairs. Jonker actually killed Nathan and then killed Alfie. The team killing for M&M doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. We thought it was just an attack thing, but no. It seems like it's just a lockers thing. Attack or defense. They're not happy unless they're getting a few team kills thrown in. It's a good job it's not ranked, otherwise I think one of them would have probably been kicked
yeah, the whole
now.
stack would have been disconnected.
Server control's been gained, but what are you going to do with it without a hard breacher? Not a great deal. You're going to be left pushing through the door. Packbull, I'm sure, has still got 3 Toxic Babe canisters. He's even afforded the time to just tidy up his rotation holes as well. Dats, I'm sure, has got a C4 in hand. 35 seconds left on the clock. Those Toxic Babes are going to start. Actually going to be thrown quite deep, which is going to really push the players from Fierce around and going to force them to use that door. Now he's going to cut off the door, and look at this. They're sandwiched in between 2 blocks of smoke. We've still got another smoke remaining, and I'm sure there's a Yokai drone in play. Look at that, there's just some uncertainty, and Penguin blocking Keenan in. Nathan, it's all down to you, not even an ADS. Little crouch peek comes out there from Jonker. Well, it's going to be a 3K on the round for Jonker, including the team kill, so technically a 2K, but early, or late aggression, should I say, as he manages to push his way on up, knowing there's only one left alive, and well, Fierce are looking pretty lost this afternoon.
Oh, the C4 and blocking your teammate from the door. If M&M's roster's going to be kicked from the game for team killing, Fierce's Esports one is going to fall apart from rage quitting for having your teammates be the end of your life. You could see the moment. He dropped the diffuser. He went, I'm charging in. I'm going to take this firefight. You know, let me take this. You take the diffuser, cover it. The man comes up to the door, blocks it. You know they're going to be C4ing. You know that's what they're baiting.
Attackers need to locate
it's unfortunate to see. You hate to see it.
Things you hate to see.
Things you hate to see.
Things that you love to see are M&M confidently taking out as the second ban, a hard breacher. After Fierce have already taken out Hibana as the first ban. Then coming out on their attack, picking up 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Then coming out on the defense and saying, you know what? Now deal with no hard breach, because we dealt with it quite well.
Yep.
Now it's your turn to deal with it, and we're more than capable of shutting you down. We know exactly how we're going to pinch you out. Now, this is where it really matters, because as we've already commented on, whilst it's important for hard destruction, it isn't the be-all and end-all like it is attacking down onto lockers. There are multiple options here, and you can do a little bit of work without that hard destruction. That being said, the mental state in Fierce at the moment, their mental mindset's got to be pretty low.
Yeah, I think at this point when, you know, you're still going at them, you don't have any real hard destruction, as we said. You're trying to find your way through a team that is just gallivanting around this map. They're being as aggressive as you were. You know, you've got a tough play because you're attacking people that are 5'2", but they're doing it in very exceptional style. They, too, adding a couple of the ACOGs. They bought the Mozzie. I always really like to see Mozzie. I think it's such a versatile operator because you can allow yourself the rotation that they want. And, well, Jonker opens it up. Takes care of Prox for the second time in the row. And, well, Prox got the entry quite a few times in the previous round. Does get refragged by Keenan inside stock. And now they're just going to keep droning and keep finding their way forward. And, well, Keenan's not on a huge amount of health.
It's another good trade, though, because Prox is coming out as first blood yet again. He's the hard destructor. He died first last round, and now he's died first in the second round onto attack. I believe it was Jonker again that took him out in that round as well. And Keenan's on, no health whatsoever. One bullet is going to do the job. It's only a shame that M&M don't have a Legion because, that'd equally do the job as well. But I think for M&M, they're just playing out of the skin at this moment in time, and it looks as though they're really prepared for what Fierce were going to do and for what they're going to bring, and they're playing their own version of Siege. It's something I talked about quite a lot last week. Don't get dragged into how your opponent wants to play. Really try and stamp down your authority on the fixture and play your own version. That's what M&M are doing at this moment in time, and Fierce really haven't got a response for it. Look at Dats here, holding the angle onto the window just at the top of square stairs. He is going to fall there with a nice shot coming through from Keenan as he manages to thread the eye of a needle there, as it were. But Drac ready to pick up the slack as he's going to be looking to challenge on through Janitors. Packbull, he finds one over onto Alfie, so if there are any yokai drones left, they will be relatively safe.
Well, sending the drone forward, and with a minute on the board, they can come up with a plan B if need be, but they've still got to hold control of these windows, and Penguin is going to be the back of the push, and he does find Drac. He allows them some semblance of control, and Nathan finds Nathan. First time they've killed each other as well, and Nathan.Fierce is currently the more powerful Nathan of the pairing. But in the meantime, it is all down to Packbull to pull out something pretty impressive and put themselves on match point. 30 seconds on and with eyes on the diffuser. Still has a nitro cell in pocket, but the Jackal track is going to come out. Waiting and baiting for someone to swing on the window. Is just going to try and throw it, but doesn't quite land it. The reverse pings come, and there goes Penguin.
That's big.
They've got to swing in now. They have to find their way to him. One more round the corner. Pre-fires and reverses out of there. Make sure they don't get dropped immediately, but they've got to force the plant. So they have to cover it as the best as they can. The pings are going out. If he still has the C4, it would win the round now. Pre-fires, can't quite find the diffuser plant, and there it is, there it is! Fierce! Oh, they just pulled that out on the skin of their teeth.
How did that happen? Did the diffuser go down, or did Keenan get the instant refrag?
It was the instant refrag.
Wow.
It was the split second.
Wow. That was a heck of a round there. And I don't think that we could have asked for much more out of Packbull there.
No.
He played it perfectly. Kept eyes on the diffuser, tried to bait out the C4 kill. It's a risky play at that point. It was unfortunate that he got stuck on the windowsill, or on the side of the window, should I say, as I think he was kind of going for the old toss it out, detonate it midair, hopefully get someone on the rappel, but just to watch the diffuser and dip out as well, get himself outside. It was a really exciting clutch. Packbull nearly had a really good clutch last week as well. He's just on the edge of that epic clutch, I feel like it is. But good try nonetheless. It is going to give M&M another bite of the cherry upstairs as Keenan just manages to keep his team in it and keep M&M off that match point, as we are going to be looking toward CEO once again. It was close, although I do feel like M&M got caught short in some places, and, if they're not able to take Prox out again as that first blood, we could see Fierce start to chain some rounds together here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that Prox survives. At this point, maybe Prox stay on the drone at the beginning of this round, let the guys go in first, let them find that you're safe, and then please approach, because I want to see what they can do with the Maverick on board. Yeah, they've not got hard destruction, but Maverick can still cause problems through hard walls, and at the minute, having all of those in the favor for M&M, it's just something that's going to play to their wheelhouse.
Yeah, like you say, you don't always actually know when it's been opened as a Maverick. If there's just a small, one of those little circle holes made, you don't always know that, and it really relies a lot on information there for M&M, and it means they've got to commit some of their information to the actual site to figure out when that wall has been opened or not. Packbull, he's going to continue his first blood streak. Unfortunately for him, it won't be onto Prox. Instead, it will be onto Alfie. Arguably as important as the IQ. I don't think that any electronics will have been taken out at this moment in time. And with how many electronics M&M are running, that's going to give them a heck of a lot of information for this remaining 2 minutes.
Well, you can see Pack is now pulled away. So obviously they managed to find an early pick previously, but this time, well, they get to do it and escape with all of their bodies intact. The IQ off the board as well, it's a bit of a problem now because they know they've been up against an Echo continually. They know they've been up against a Valkyrie, and now they've got a Mozzie as well. That's so much information utility that has already been used pretty well from the sides of M&M, and it's just impenetrable at this point. Nathan finds Penguin as well. This is where we talked about what an ACOG can do on Banana, and well, we're finding it out. And this is something that you'll often see a lot of big gunners use in ranked games. Set yourself up there and try and find bodies at the bottom of the stairs, and well, there is the Doctor, and he's in.
Keenan now going to have control of the square stairs along with Prox. That could allow Prox to open up a little bit of the wall, but look at where Dats is playing. He's going to be downstairs inside of Archives. He's going to have the chance at a C4 toss if he so wishes, but it looks as though he's just going to try and peek up nonetheless. He does find one, but not before Jonker finds the important kill there onto the only hard breacher. As we've discussed so many times, Prox is going to fall. Nathan finding himself outside on the rappel. He's looking now to challenge onto that Kanto corner and will win out that engagement for the second time against the other Nathan. He looks pretty pleased with himself as he gives his screen a bit of a wiggle and a bit of a knife, as he's now going to go for a rappel down main lobby. This is something that you very seldom see, but with the way that he's doing it, he's got a nice bit of a head glitch there. And what about that for timing? Able to take out a Yokai drone, just nips down onto the rappel, and well, that was all she wrote. He also gets a Valkyrie camera in the process, so doing the IQ's job for the IQ there, as he's now going to be on main stairs Skylight. But look at the time, 30 seconds left is no time for an Ash to be on the roof, and he needs to get himself on into the building if he's going to try and effect onto this round. But in a 1 versus 4 situation, it's going to be very unlikely, as the diffuser is down at the top of square stairs, and he can see where that location is. He's going to be getting shot through some of the Maverick holes that have already been opened, and well, a 4K inside of 10 seconds isn't something that you see every day, and Drak is going to make sure it's something that we do not see today, as he manages to grab that final kill and propel M&M onto a match point.
A match point, and Lockers is on the table at this point, and you do think, well, Fierce, yeah, you've got to get 3 rounds in a row. You've got to get 3 rounds in a row, and at least one of them is definitely going to be Lockers, and at that point, it's against an M&M that is hotter than they've ever been. Yeah, it's a tough ask, I think. Again, technically, the Fierce Nathan, 2-0. He's in the grand scheme of killing people, so he's doing pretty well for himself right now, but one more round, one more potential, and M&M find themselves as technically the best UK team right now. And, you know, that's theirs to argue against the players of Na'Vi who lost to them. You know, maybe we should send M&M over to Japan.
Within the Premiership, fair to say. Within the Premiership, I think
yeah.
is fair to say. And deserved as well.
Yeah.
The way that they've come out, they've had hard games in the later half of the season. Now, that can sometimes be a little bit misleading. If you limp into the season on slightly easier fixtures or fixtures you're expected to win, you could maybe get a false sense of confidence. In the interview last week, Drak was very level-headed after winning against Na'Vi, which was surprising because I thought they'd be on Cloud9. But he was very level-headed, and he said that he was really confident in moving forward against Fierce. He knew that Fierce were going to play their, A game and really try and take home this fixture, but they were prepared for it, and they were ready for that eventuality, and well, you can't argue with it. They were obviously very prepared. I feel like they've read the bands fairly well, and the 6-3 scoreline says everything you need to say at this moment in time.
Yeah, the 6-3 scoreline, double hard destruction off the table. Yeah, you're not having a mirror. Yeah, you're not having a Maestro. That doesn't massively matter. Maestro and Echo are often interchangeable for a lot of teams, especially in this region on this point as well. So you've got the ACOG, you've got the eyes inside point, you've got the plant denial at this. You can't really do the long angle hold there.
There is even more at stake as well in this round particularly, and that is a huge, huge start for what is at stake here. A 3K coming out for Fierce as Drak does manage to stem the flow, but no, it's all of a sudden a 3 versus 1, and Fierce have come out swinging. Jonker last on site. He's got a heck of a lot of work to do. I don't think he's working off any information whatsoever, and look at how much time is left. The diffuser is in the hands of Prox, and I'm sure that that's going to start getting planted pretty soon. Information is available, but Fierce have just come out with a clean sweep of a round. What I was going to go on to say is that if Fierce win that round in particular, they then play a best-of-3 final for 3rd place because of the way that the round differences are playing out. Now, of course, M&M still on match point.
Yep.
Still going to be looking to try and convert onto this. Going to be looking to go down into lockers yet again. If they win this round, however, they will lock 3rd place in. So, to clear everything up, Fierce
currently sitting 4 rounds to 6. M&M are on match point. Fierce currently have to play a best of 3 for third to decide the final standings because everything has just been so close. However, if Fierce win this round and take it to 6-5, they will then lock in that third place, which is very important because it means a lot when you move on to the playoffs and the seedings for those playoffs and what sort of caliber of game or team you're going to be going up against.
I think it's worth saying that the 2 rounds that have been won on the attack on lockers were both rushes. They were both just take them as quick and as fast as we can, and then, well, we found some success in it, and you know, there's a part of me that's like, I kind of want to see them try it again, but the other part's like, but it won't work. But at the same time, it's the only thing that's worked.
The only time that we've seen the attackers win on lockers is when they've dropped.
Yeah.
When they've just taken that initiative in the first 30 seconds and gone, I'm dropping side, who's with me?
And I don't think I've ever been able to say that that's the most successful strategy that we've seen on this lockers basement point. But hey, it actually is. So I don't know what to say at this point. I'm just curious to see if it would work 3 times. It doesn't look like they're set up to do it again. Alfie's going to IQ their way across unless they're doing something in Garage, which you can see off in the distance there's a couple of bodies, but otherwise it seems like they're going for a more standard familiar take. But Nathan finds Penguin with the shotgun by the front door and is now holding this exceptionally aggressive.
Nathan kind of giving Fierce a bit of a taste of their own medicine there, as it was Prox that was aggressively playing in and around this main lobby area, but looks like they're going to be trying to push on with the pistol. He's not very well equipped to deal with these gunfights at such range, but who was that missed all those shots? Going to give Nathan a chance at a cheeky one-tap there. He's continuing to take damage. He can only be 1 bullet at this point, but look at all the time that he is wasting. Nathan's almost playing a little bit of aim trainer there, as that pistol, as good as it is, that kind of length of an engagement isn't something that you want to be taking, but it looks as though Fierce are going to give up on him and maybe try and catch him out on a further rotate. Keenan now is going to be the one that peeks through, but no, Keenan, he doesn't take a single point of damage, and Nathan lives to fight for another couple of seconds. If he shoots now, he's going to get him in the head. What has gone on there? Nathan with the pistol takes out Keenan, and that is going to secure the man advantage for M&M. Nathan on very little health, but if he doesn't even make it back to site at this moment in time, it will not matter at all as we enter a 5 versus 2 now, with still half the round remaining. 5 versus 1 as Jonka finds that kill onto Alfie, and well, it's all down to Nathan. Nathan of Fierce, that is, to try and clutch this round out. He's got half of the round remaining. The diffuser is on the ground, I believe, maybe even down in sight, and it doesn't look very good at this moment for Fierce.
I cannot believe that that man was allowed to do so much in that lobby entrance. They had 2 people either side on either windows. All they had to do was go at him at the same time. And they didn't, and that's just... that's Siege. Right, well, Nathan, you've got to stop making decisions with your mouse movements. You've got to try and make something of this. You put some bullets into him with the... Well, you're trying to find something with the Deagle, but... Well, they find you. Dats locks off the flawless round, locks off the game with M&M taking it. And, well, locks themselves in as the best team this season so far in the UK and Irish Prem.
What a game we've just seen there on Bank. M&M coming out in fine fashion and demolishing Fierce. Packbull, deserved spot there at the top as he had a cracking game with plenty of kills to boot. Jonka and Dats doing an equal share as well, and a good team effort overall. I think their communication must have been on point for that game.
It was, and it guarantees them, as you say, that extra victory to put themselves at the top of the table ahead of Na'Vi. That is the big one for them. And what felt like a somewhat likely scoreline, the one that we really thought it wouldn't come down to, 7-4, means there's a best of 3 to be played off stream to determine who finishes in third. Either going to be Fierce or I'm with the boys. That'll be played, I imagine, the next few days well ahead of the playoffs next week, which will make for a pretty spicy series, I have no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, to have a best of 3 to decide position just because of how close the standings are, I think it just says the quality that we've got in the Prem at the minute and just how close these teams now equally matched they are. But that's going to be a grueler just to decide a placement, you know, just to decide the seeding. It's going to be massive.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of way that we are going to kind of break this down is, you know, to have these middle teams that, as said, there was so much expectations, and then we kind of wanted to see them heat up and wanted to see the stacks kind of come together, and this is going to be a moment where they can set a kind of feud on this. Set a score, take it to the best of 3, and the first best of 3 obviously throughout this, and it might give them a taste for how the playoffs are going to play off as well, and give them a balance for how they might be playing if they do hit that LAN stage where it is all these best of 3 big games. Because that's one thing that we haven't really seen from these guys yet, is how they work in a deeper map pool. How are they on a game of longevity?
Yeah, and that's really important to see within Siege, because of course you're not always going to be playing in those best of 1s. You've got to be prepared to get involved in the best of 2. I can't help but chuckle when I see that C4 toss come out, brilliantly timed, and well, Packball with the clutch that just wasn't quite to be. You could see the time, it was on 1. It was a second out there for ending things a little bit sooner, but it was a good clutch nonetheless from Keenan. And again, nice to see M&M at the top of the Prem once again, as you know, of course they were fairly dominant when Navi were under Prem. So if you've been living under a rock, you won't really think that much changed, but believe you me, it definitely has.
What was really interesting about that game was how it came down to quite a few really close rounds that led to that final score of 7-4. And ultimately, again, finds in that situation where we're going to see another best of 3. And I think we all know, having a best of 3 ahead of playoffs, you want to be using that time really to be prepping for the playoff games that you've got. Right now, these teams, and especially the teams they'll be coming up against, still aren't 100% sure of who they'll be playing.
Yeah, it brings a lot of it into kind of up in the air, really.
Stressful week, we'll say that.
It's prep. Prep is what makes this stuff, and watching forward to the other teams, seeing how you performed against them last time, what went wrong, and how you can kind of work together on that and stuff. And, you know, it's not done, not over yet.
Absolutely. No, it certainly isn't, and like you say, it's difficult when you don't know exactly who you're going to be going up against, because, you know, to go into a best of 3 just to decide the seedings, you're going to be giving so much stuff away that, you know, although it's going to be an offline game, I'm with the boys are still going to get to find that out, or whoever it is that they're going to be playing against, so it is going to be a very tough one, that's for sure.
It'll all come clear, I'm very sure, but we need to know who you think was the man of the match, or the player of the match in this game. We don't differentiate here. In this case, Packball, Jonker, or Dats are your vote choices. Gents, I'll ask you again. Who do you think out of those 3?
For me, it's got to be Packball. It's not really a question. He's been on the edge for a couple of weeks from what I've been watching, and I think he's really due a spectacular clutch, and I just know he's saving it for LAN, basically. But I think his play tonight was definitely worthy of that top spot.
Yeah, I mean, he was the name that you kind of saw pop up most in those kind of moments today. Every single kind of clutch situation, I think he had the most opening frags throughout the game as well. He was always everywhere and kind of really causing big problems.
Really making it happen for them. Well, of course, again, need to hear your votes on Twitter. But right now we have an interview ready to come up in just a few seconds. I believe we'll be speaking to Drac. There he is. Well, great victory, got to say, mate. How are you feeling?
Yeah, we're feeling pretty great. First
Cool.
in our first Prem season.
Absolutely, yeah. Roster of questions to race through for you. First one I got to ask, you go through as one of the 2 teams already guaranteed a spot in those finals. That means, of course, you get to skip playoffs next week. You haven't got to worry about giving anything away. Do you think that gives you guys a big advantage going into LAN?
I mean, yeah. We're aiming for second this season, obviously, so we don't have to face Navi in the semifinals at LAN, and we've attained it. We've even done better than Navi somehow, but yeah, we're really pleased with the result this season.
Awesome, definitely got yourselves into a good driving spot. And mentioning that game against Navi, there was a lot of people speaking about Nathan in that game on that day. Today, I think it's pretty fair to say, looking across the leaderboard, looking across the team performance, everyone really stood up as well. Is this a sign of things to come from you guys, that we can expect big performances from all of you on that big stage?
I mean, it's all of our first LAN. We don't really know what we're expecting. We're obviously hoping to go in doing our best. But yeah, we prepped a lot today. I think we did really, really well.
A very, very humble response. And I got to ask as well, because I imagine you guys are sitting there watching and listening. What on earth happened in that final round with Nathan sitting there getting 2 kills with a pistol playing inside a lobby?
I'm not sure. The comms are a little bit hectic. He was kind of just doing his own thing, I guess.
He wasn't screaming in excitement like, boys, I've got 2, come on.
he was the comms were just going all over the place.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully they'll settle down in time for the finals. But congratulations, you guys finished first in this season. Brilliant performance throughout. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys can deliver at LAN. Congratulations again.
All right, thanks, guys. See you.
There you go. Well, they're happy, humble, even in victory, even coming above a Pro League team currently playing in Japan. And we were joking about this before. Na'Vi might come back victors from that tournament. and then have to face a team that beat them before they went.
That's never played on LAN before. This is their first ever LAN.
Imagine if they were to get beaten again. That would be quite terrifying, and that's a spectacle that I think everyone needs to witness in person. So once again, on the screen below me, you can see the link to get your tickets to come and join us in Manchester. Going to be a phenomenal day, I have absolutely no doubt. ESL.im/R6S finals. We would absolutely love to see you there. And of course, if you're going, hit us up on Twitter at ESL UK using the hashtag ESLPrem. Find out who else is going as well. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty good time. Gents, that's the end of our 7 weeks of regular play. Playoffs next week. Summarise the last 7 weeks for me in as fewer words as possible, or we'll be here all night.
I think to say that they've been exciting is probably a bit of an understatement at this point. It's the result that no one was really expecting to see M&M up there at the top of the table, and I don't think that's where the upsets are going to end. Definitely get yourself stuck into the playoff games and get yourself down to LAN if possible, because there's no doubt that the level of competition in the Prem has elevated season after season, and we're pretty much at the peak at this point, so there's definitely a lot to play for.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And these teams, they're still pulling stuff out the barrel. They're still pulling this stuff together. They're still refining what they're doing as a strategy. Now they have a little bit of time to pull themselves back into it, see the teams they've got to focus on, and then show us what they can do.
Bring the big guns for LAN, needless to say. Well, let's take a look at your final standings for the end of these 7 weeks. Like said, a bit of a surprise, but M&M Gaming finishing above Na'Vi. They are both guaranteed a spot at the live finals. In the playoffs next week, we have I'm With The Boys, Fierce, Sonny Carries, and Exillium. And Wind and Rain and Audacity will fall into the relegation tournament ahead of other teams joining them who will be rising up from the promotion tournaments. Of course, again, that is taking place right now. We are in promo number 2, so you still have 2 more to get involved in, as well as that second one if you really want to. A bit of a surprise, like I say, seeing M&M at the very top, but let's have a look at what this looks like in terms of a bracket as well ahead of this knockout next week. We have 3rd and 4th, who, as we saw come out not too long ago, On With The Boys coming up against Exillium. And then it's going to be Fierce coming up against Sonny Carries next week. We then get a reseed for the semi-finals. That means that at the end of this 7-week block, as we know now, the lower seed of the teams that progress from that will face off against M&M. The other seed will face off, or the higher seed will face off against Na'Vi before, of course, we have our grand finalists there in Manchester. So set to be a very exciting week next week, and of course, some epic semi-finals to follow as well. Looking at any of the potential fixtures there, I don't think anyone will be disappointed about what we might get to experience.
No, they're going to be explosive games. You know, it's going to be games that we've seen playing out, and we've seen these teams developing. Sonny Carries particularly, M&M Gaming with what they've been able to bring. So yeah, the way that these teams have sort of grown over the course of the season, these playoffs are going to be pretty explosive.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about it is, obviously, as we said, they've got a little bit more work to do. They've got to do some more prep, and you know, you never know where you can end up, because even if you get to the kind of LAN position and you're in a LAN situation where you're playing against Na'Vi as your first game, you're in a LAN situation where you're playing against Na'Vi in your first game. Like, they've just been on the biggest stage in the world, and you have the possibility of facing them. Like, that's so much excitement, I think, for the teams as their first kind of go-to, and it just kind of shows what this league can provide, really.
Staying composed, no doubt, is going to be a big part of that. But that is the end of tonight's show. And of course, a huge thank you to our sponsors, without who it would not be possible. Intel, AOC, and PaySafeCard. You guys are the real Prem VPs here tonight. That is the end of week 7. Again, next week we have our playoffs to determine who the other 2 teams will be that join Na'Vi and M&M Gaming at the LAN finals in Manchester. They're going to be there. I hope you'll be there as well. Thank you very much, and see you next week.
Attackers have recovered their...
At the highest level of play, there can be no compromises. Gamers demand the highest clock speeds to give them the FPS they need to perform. Rise to the moment. Intel Core i7, the official CPU of the ESL National Championships. Game, record, stream without compromise.
You ready? Huh? Hey, he's a good boy, huh? You ready? Huh?
Start your esports career now at play.eslgaming.com.